Were you even listening? No. I waited for your go ahead, but you were still on to everything and nothing. Oh, your head stuck in another land, making all these other plans. I'm trying, I'm trying, I'm trying, I'm trying to break you out of your own mind. I'm trying, I'm trying, I'm trying, I'm trying. Let's go back to being 17 before we lost it. I know you've been wondering, is this what I really wanted? I didn't think so. No, I didn't think so. Come a little closer, no. I'm trying to get through to you, break and make you follow everything you wanted. Go, just see how far you really come. Wake up, baby, feel the sun. I'm trying, I'm trying, I'm trying, I'm trying to break you out of your own mind. I'm trying, I'm trying, I'm trying, I'm trying. Let's go back to being 17 before we lost it. I know you've been wondering, is this what I really wanted? I didn't think so. No, 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 I didn't think so.
Good afternoon. Wow. So, it's been kind of a slow day as far as progress type of stuff. I did start on the new website today. I got the base of it up, and I'm starting, when I install the script, when I do the initial install, it gives me many different options to use. And I chose to install the very, very base. And so I'm just going to be adding in stuff from there. So essentially what I wanted was a clean slate. I just wanted the, how do I put this, the module positions, which is technically how I would say it. I just wanted the module positions that the current website gives me. The new website will not look like the current website. Even though I love how that website looks, I want something different. It's been, what, 3 years or so? And even though I've made changes to the website, it's still been the basic structure, the basic menus, and you know, I just want an entirely different look to the website and function, and I just want something fresh, you know. And so I did get a start on it. I'm not happy with the menus that I'm working with. I'm starting at, like I said, very, very ground level, base level, and I'm going to be personally tweaking every single aspect of the website, and hopefully I get something that's comparable to what we have now. Again, I love the way the site looks, you know, now versus many of the other sites I've had throughout my life. I like this style. but it's time for change. So I'm not going to be taking up a whole screen just with sliding pictures. And in fact, I'm going to be taking up that first screen with video, actually. So right there where you see the sliding pictures go across will be the I'm hoping to put either the live show there, if it's live, or immediately after the show, the archive of the show will go there. So one of the two, either way, that is my intention. So that's a lot of what I've been working on today, which again I didn't get very far. I've been kind of tweaking up the a few loose ends on the server itself. I'm pretty well set with it. I'm pretty happy with it. It seems to be running relatively smoothly, other than a few errors that I have popping up, which are kind of neither here nor there. And hopefully the update that I did on it today will take care of those. So it looks like it's going to go good. So anyway, that's where we're at with that. Let me go ahead and take care of the financial stuff. I'm today is another day to where I found myself going, well, what am I going to talk about today on the monologue? And there's something that has been nagging at me for a long time, probably getting close to a year now. And I've talked about it a little bit here and there, but I want to dive into it a little bit deeper because it's very bothersome to me, and it has, it's associated very closely to a very big issue we're having in this country today. And you're going to see why I feel like it's important, because I think that type of attitude is what plays into, for instance, what's going on in Deerfield, Illinois. Do I think anything will happen? Do I think that anybody will go up there and help defend the citizens of Deerfield, Illinois? I doubt it. Would I like to see that? Oh, you better believe I'd like to see that. I'd like to see tens of thousands of people up there in a open carry march saying, no, you are not going to do this. We are done. We are done with your liberal lunacy. Okay? But I know it's not going to turn into tens of thousands up there, and I know it's not going to turn into an open carry rally. I know, I get that. I don't think we're going to see anything, really. And I don't say that to be negative. I'm saying that to be realistic. So this, what I'm going to be talking about in the monologue today closely associates with that type of mentality, okay? And I'm going to be using an example of, somebody that is well known in the Bundy Patriot community. So, and it's something that's been nagging at me for a while, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. And let me get through the financials stuff real quick. I'll blow through it. There's not a whole lot I tweeted out today, so I ought to be able to get through all this real quick. YouTube, what, we go up another 4 cents or something? I don't know. It goes back and forth. We lost another subscriber, though, and I can't. Yeah, I still don't give a damn. But anyway, 356 is where we're sitting at over on YouTube. I don't, folks, and I don't mean to sound like a jerk when I do that, when I say that. But I'm here to tell the truth, okay? And I hope, I pray. I actually do pray, and I do ask God to guide me. I don't want to mislead anybody, right? But that is who I answer to, is God. Okay, so whether I have 1 subscriber, 3,912 subscribers, or 10 million subscribers, don't mean a bit of difference to me. The only thing I care about is making the main man happy. That's all I care about. So that's why I have that attitude, and I just like to kind of joke and have fun with it. A lot of times when I tell the truth, I lose subscribers. Go figure, right? So anyway, that's where we're at on ScrewTube. Steam It, we'll have a little bit that'll be any time now, I think. I think it's this one here. Oh, no, that's tomorrow. No, it's this one here. Oh, actually, I can do that now. See, well, the one part's gone. I was going to show you. It says past payouts 322, author 244, curators 79, but it's not breaking it down into what goes where. And I'm going to click on wallet here, and you'll see this up here. So out of that 322, I'm only actually going to get like 0.049 Steam. Okay, oh, well, that's Steam. SBD is going to be 1.104. And then Steam Power, I'll get 0.520. And I do that by clicking Redeem Rewards, and you'll see these numbers change here as soon as it picks it up, and there you go. That's it. So that's how you redeem. I don't know if I've ever showed that live. I didn't know if it would be ready when I went live, but it was. So now you guys got to see that live when I actually redeem that. So right now, Steam dollars, we're setting at $4, roughly $4.85 in Steam dollars. So that is where we are at on that. So let me, I need to go in and follow my followers. I do that every so often. I go back through and I follow everybody that follows me just as a courtesy. I don't do that on Twitter, and the reason why is because I'm not a fan of Twitter, to be real honest. I'm there to use that as a platform, one more platform to get the information out. But Twitter, to me, you know, one of the things that eats me up the most about Twitter is every day I'm getting emails from Twitter telling me who I need to follow. And it's like, really? No, you're not going to guide me around, you know, and tell me who I need to follow, what propaganda I need to listen to. And yeah, that's not going to happen. So anyway, it is what it is. AdSense, somebody's been clicky. 56 cents at this point today. I'm going to refresh just in case. And yep, 56 cents as of today. Yesterday was a 77-cent day. And so we're up to $2.99 over here. So that is killer. That's awesome. Still waiting, of course, for the YouTube to come in over in the balance. And we'll go from there. It's going to take a while to build up that $100 threshold. But anyway, we are grateful for anything. Trust me. That is where we are on AdSense. Let me get through the stuff I tweeted again. Like I told you, I haven't tweeted much today. There really wasn't a whole lot, and I didn't go to actual Sputnik and RT pages and stuff like that. Believe it, I mean, it may sound crazy that, you know, when I say, well, I was working on menus on the website today. Oh yeah, did you get them done? No. And it may sound crazy, but, you know, it's one of those things to where you go and you know, we have to do all the free stuff. We have to do all the free, anything that's on the website essentially is free, right? The extensions. So you have to dig through a bunch of junk, and hopefully you'll find something that not only works but looks good. And so even something like a menu is something that I couldn't tell you how many menus I tried today, and most of them I couldn't get the animations to work, and it just, I don't know, they just didn't, other ones just didn't look good, or I couldn't configure them to look good with the website, or because you had to buy the pro version, you know. And it's just like, I don't have $30 to throw at a menu, you know. I mean, I think that's crazy. There was one I really liked, but the animations didn't work, and it cost $30 to be able to go in and change the like colors of the menu. And I can go into it, and I know how to tweak the script so I can get it any color I want or whatever. But I don't want to have to fight with that. So I've got some pretty cool stuff, pretty cool plans for the way this website's going to look, and part of that is going to mean that I won't be able to sit there and screw around with menu colors and stuff like that on a hand coding basis. You know, it's going to be cool. Trust me. I've kind of got a layout in my head, and it's going to be cool. But it's not going to be a site that I update all the time, like the background and stuff, because I kind of do that on the website we have now. I'll go in and I'll update the background quite a bit. And I won't be doing that, because every image on that, it's going to be cool. As you scroll down the page, as you scroll down the page here, the images will change, okay? And it's the way I'm going to set it up is there's going to be a border around it all. And it's going to be set up really, really sweet, the way I have it planned anyway. And in order to do that, it means that I won't be able to go in and change like these menu colors all the time, hand scripting, because that would just be a huge, huge nightmare. I need something that I can pretty much, like this. It's real super easy for me to go in. You see this, the blue there, the blue everywhere on the site, down in here, all that's blue. I just go to one spot in the back end of the website in the templates and change that. And I can change it literally to any color just by one click. And it makes it really, really nice. That's why I like the script, and that's why I'm still using this script for the module positions and for the capabilities of the individual module positions. And it's got a really nice base to the script. So it just will look totally different than this. However, this is probably going to be the first image on the site. I told you as you scroll down, it's going to go through images. This is still probably going to be the first image on the new site. The destruction of St. Louis. I don't know. I thought that was kind of fitting because of the news we do and because of our location. So actually, Aaron, I think, is the one that I saw had this picture. And he provided me a link to be able to get it. So I appreciate that. I seen that and I thought, man, that is cool. And I know a lot of people's like, oh, the apocalypse, how could you say the apocalypse is cool? Well, because I trust God. Okay, I trust God. I have a lot of faith in God, and I see what a lot of people look at as the end. I look at as the beginning. Because the world that we have right now is insane. And, well, we'll talk about that a little bit. It kind of goes hand in hand, too, with what I'm going to talk about. Paris says Iran approaching red line on uranium enrichment. More Iran fear-mongering. Police confirmed 4 injured in blast at storage facility in Strasbourg, France. Hezbollah, Iran won't leave Syria until it's liberated, says the Lebanese parliament speaker. Major fire at hotel near London's Hyde Park, black smoke spreading over city. Soyuz MS-09 spacecraft launches from Baikonur Cosmodrome. Norway to ban full-face veils at schools from August. Boeing refuses to deliver any aircraft to Iran amid U.S. sanctions threat. So that is what I tweeted out. Like I said, not a whole lot. Not a whole lot today. There just wasn't a whole lot that popped up in my breaking. And I was, like I said, I never did go over to the RT site. I guess we could do that. We could take a quick peek over there real fast. Certainly wouldn't hurt anything. Gang of U.S. police beat unarmed, unresisting man for sitting improperly. I watched this video earlier. Yeah, we'll bite on that. Arizona's Mesa Police Department released surveillance footage Tuesday showing officers repeatedly punching and kneeing 33-year-old Robert Johnson until he's pulled to the ground and handcuffed. The 20-minute video, which has been shared widely on social media, begins with a single Mesa officer exiting the elevator onto an apartment's 4th floor and pulling Johnson and 20-year-old Eric Reyes aside for questioning. Nearly 3 minutes later, 3 additional officers come onto the scene and surround Johnson, and as he's leaning forward against a railing and looking at his phone, a minute later, officers begin to attack Johnson, though he was showing no signs of aggression toward any officials. It should be noted that the video contains no audio and as such, it's unclear what words were exchanged between involved parties. Words. What words? I wonder if an officer got offended. Surveillance footage goes on to show officers handcuffed and later zip-tie Johnson's feet together. at the 11-minute mark as officers are seen directing Johnson to the elevator. An officer is then seen repeatedly slamming Johnson's head against the elevator door as it opens. Officers later push Johnson back onto the ground, where he lies for several minutes. The video cuts off as officers wrap a white towel around his mouth and carry him to the elevator. Officers later charged Johnson with disorderly conduct and hindering. Okay? So they didn't have a charge on him to begin with. That's what that's saying. So he was assaulted. He was attacked. He was mauled. Brutalized. When they didn't even have anything to charge him with. Okay? And so after their absolutely violent episode with him, now he's got legal issues to contend with. It's insane. You know, and it gets me. I'll have my fit here in a moment. Officers later, oh yeah, I said that. According to local Mesa station ABC, oh yeah, by the way, oh, you don't have it up. I don't know if you'll be able to see it yet. I'll have to scroll. I'll have to do that right now, so I don't lose it. I let everybody know that you would be here shortly. Okay. Aaron let everybody know that you couldn't be here totally. Told you I was going to tell her. Anyway, let's continue. According to local Mesa station ABC 15, officers were called to the apartment by a woman who had reported that Reyes, her ex-boyfriend, was trying to break into her home. Mesa Police Chief Raymond Batista explained to the station that although Reyes complied with officers' instructions, force was used on Johnson because he did not comply. Instead of sitting against the wall as ordered, Johnson opted to squat down. Really? I mean, yeah, okay. Batista did not know of the incident, which took place on May 23rd, until a week later. When an unarmed community member shared the footage with him, he launched an investigation into the matter and ultimately led to 4 officers being placed on administrative leave pending the investigation. Batista has stated that he decided to release the video before it surfaced online in order to offer some context on the incident. You know, control a court of public opinion. That's what they do. The images of the video are powerful, and I thought it was paramount that you hear it from me with respect to how I feel about it and what I'm going to do to ensure this doesn't happen again, the police chief told the Arizona Republic. Mind you, right, they're on paid administrative leave. Okay? Paid administrative leave. It's insane. In a statement released on Tuesday, the Mesa Police Association criticized Batista's decision to release the footage, calling it grossly inappropriate as the department's investigation has not yet concluded. Additional footage is expected to be released later this week, according to local station CBS 5. Probably the footage with the audio that they're going to have to doctor before they put it out, because it's probably way worse than what it appears. Let me go ahead and I'm going to play this video. I'm actually going to play it on YouTube here. Oh, this is like 20 minutes. The video that I seen wasn't nearly as long as this. Let's shorten it up here a bit. There, this will work. This is where they first got there. There is no audio. Not giving them a problem with them, you know, patting them down. They're just, he's cool with them, making sure he's not armed or anything. So he walked over. Doesn't seem like he's acting like a jerk or violent or anything like that to me. And see, they just immediately go on, go to town on them. Immediately. There is no such thing as de-escalation in these cases. They don't even attempt it. Then you got this guy right here over on the right-hand side. Didn't do anything. He was sitting there. Now he's being searched. Okay? Which to me should be illegal. Well, actually, it is illegal. I mean, he's not suspected of any crime. So why? Oh, yeah, for their safety, for weapons. That excuse again. Yeah. Yeah, this is insane. And then they said something about slamming his head up against the elevator. Let me fast forward it here. Must be somewhere in here. So they're getting him up. See? As if they didn't already attack him enough. Paid administrative leave, folks. Paid administrative leave. I'm willing to bet I don't have to be a prophet to say that they won't be charged with anything. Nothing will happen. They won't lose their jobs. Nothing will come of it. Mind you, the guy committed no crime. The guy wasn't wanted for anything. I'm not quite sure what they're doing now. That's insane. Absolutely insane. I want to do, I wanted to show you that. U.S. Secret Service arrests White House contractor on attempted murder warrant. Casualties confirmed in mysterious Baghdad blast. U.S. State Department cites D-Day as example of strong relationship with Germany. Israeli company reveals futuristic Mantic armored combat vehicle. Let's see. So that was Sputnik. So again, not a whole lot of breaking type of stuff today. That's why I didn't have a ton of stuff come up on my phone. So anyway, let me go ahead and switch screens here, and I'll have my little talk about what has been on my mind, what has been bothering me, and this has been a consistent thing for some time now. Well, actually, since the main part of it had happened. So, anyway, I'm losing my thought. No, okay. So, I'm trying to think, and I've been trying to think of a hypothetical situation that I could mention that would that would kind of put this into perspective. Okay, because in order for people that are familiar with the Patriot community and individuals in the, I should say the Bundy Patriot community, I need to do this. Otherwise, the moment I mention names or speak about situations, opinions are going to automatically be formed, okay? And that's what I'm trying to get past, okay? I'm trying to get past that knee-jerk reaction. So, anyway, if I had some killers after me, right, and let's say I didn't do anything wrong, let's say I witnessed a murder, okay? And the people that were associated or directly involved with the murder were after me, and I ran, okay? I think most people would understand that, okay? That's just one situation. If I was captured by ISIS, let's just go there. If I was captured by ISIS and they were going to behead me for being a follower of God, I think people would understand if I was able to escape their custody and take off, right? There are many situations to where the best thing to do would be flee. And especially when you're fighting a situation, because let me go back to the ISIS thing. I could sit there and plead my case with ISIS all day long, right? And as long as at the end of the day I still say that I'm a believer of God, they're going to probably chop my head off. Okay? Now, we can sit here and debate, especially on that particular topic, on whether or not I should do that, how strong of a believer I am, and let's not go there, because that's apples and oranges. But people would understand if I did what I had to escape the custody of ISIS to prevent from being beheaded. That just makes sense. Okay? Just as much as it would make sense to try to defend myself if I had no other choice. So I wanted to throw out a couple examples out there of how I would think most all of us would react in a situation, which I can't say would be a common situation for most of us, but it's somewhere hypothetically to throw our minds and understand what we're talking about. Now, this is where a lot of minds are going to be like, huh? I want to talk about Gavin Syme. Is Gavin Syme courageous or cowardice? Well, I would say he's pretty damn courageous. That took balls of steel to leave his home that he was buying, uproot his family, and move out of the country in which he was born. Move out of the country in which he had been fighting for as long as I've known him. I keep going back to this, and the reason why I keep going back to this is because I see something now. And I was talking about this a while back. I was talking about this division that was being done, especially by people like Pete Santilli, or I should call him Pete Scamtilli, and all of his flock. Gary Hunt is another one that likes to divide. And yes, I'll come right out and say it. I suspect them all to be at least agents or working with an agency. One of the two. Because they are absolutely hell-bent on division while the entire time speaking unity. Okay? But I haven't fluorided my brain to death. Neither have I tribalized it to death. I'm making up words today. And so I see what is going on. I see right now that there's a petition going on. How many people know about the petition going on right now for Trump to pardon the Hammonds? How many people know about that? How many people would have known about that had people like Pete Santilli not pulled his nonsense? Now do you see where I'm coming from and where I was coming from months ago when I was calling this out? Months ago, I said they were dividing people. They were purposely dividing people so that the support would not be there. And how much do you want to bet that down the road it's a matter of time before the Bundys are either sitting in court again or for whatever reason they're locked up and their property is gone? Because it ain't over. I can guarantee you that. It ain't over. The government wants what it wants. And they will damn well get it. Whether they got to kill you, coerce you, imprison you, they don't care. Look at the Clinton body list and tell me they care. Look at Benghazi and tell me they care. So, I'd been saying this for quite some time, and I'd really been going over in my head that very question, whether or not Gavin Syme is courageous or cowardice. And I'm still staying with courageous. Because, folks, the reason I compared that to ISIS and being in the custody of ISIS and fleeing ISIS because, you know, they're going to cut your head off if you show your dedication to God, it's because it's the same thing. And I've seen countless amounts of people attack him and say, oh, no, being brave would be standing up to your charges. Would it? Not necessarily just being brave. It could also be being foolish, don't you think? I mean, I don't like going up against a stacked deck. And that is most certainly what is going on in our government, in our judicial system. It's absolutely a stacked deck. If it wasn't, why the hell are the Hammonds behind bars right now? This is the type of quote-unquote justice system we're talking about. And people think that the only respectful thing for him to do is to turn himself in and to take his lumps when he didn't do anything wrong. I'll never forget that shooting that happened in, I think it was Southern California. I'm struggling to think of the name of the city. And so this guy had walked into I don't think it was a school. I think it was some type of company. And there was a company Christmas party, and he walked in and opened fire. Although the witnesses say there were 3 men there. The official story says that there was 1 man. And you know, he acted alone, lone wolf kind of thing. I think might have been San Bernardino, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I can remember that in the news, they were having all kinds of hell getting access to the data on his phone. Because Apple would not hand it over. Now, here is a guy that was allegedly responsible for several deaths. I can't remember off the top of my head how many deaths he was responsible for. Apple wouldn't give up the information, or Apple wouldn't unlock the phone, right? And Apple wouldn't give any information on unlocking the phone. And they had 9 kinds of hell getting into that phone. When several people's lives were taken. And I sit there and I think about that. And I can't off the top of my mind remember the actual charge that Gavin had, but it was, I don't know if it was obstruction or something. It was something stupid. Might have been harassment. I don't know. It was something stupid. But they were going to court order him to unlock his phone. Right? And if he continued to refuse to do that, they would lock him up. But yet these fake patriots can't get it. They can't get it whatsoever. Some people would say, well, it's so crazy. It reminds me of the meme, and I've talked about this meme before, where it shows an old man, an old woman, and a donkey. And I forget, there might be like 4 images there. There might be 6, I don't know. But everybody's got a different opinion on what that old man and old woman should be doing with that donkey. Some say that he should be riding it. Some say they both should be riding it. Some say that she should be riding it. Some say that neither should ride it. And so, I've heard people say that, well, if he was brave, he would take his lumps and blah, 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 go to court. And I've actually seen people say, well, if he was brave, he would fight him. Actually fight him. That's another foolish move. And here's the thing. I've seen some people talk about the risk that he's put his family in for going to Mexico, for taking his family to Mexico to live. Which is funny, I put those two next to one another because some people are saying he should have physically fought with them, and then other people are saying that he put his family at risk for taking them to Mexico. Kind of two polar opposites there. And it's insane. It's insane. And I wanted to point this out because we are a nation in some very, very big trouble right now. And right now, we have the ability to make a difference. Right now, we have the ability to make a big enough mark that they might understand that they need to back up even just a little. And I am talking about Deerfield, Illinois. If we can get people to stop their keyboard commando attitude, because I don't know how many people, I could tell you 4 years ago, 5 years ago, the people that were saying, out of my cold dead hands and yada, yada, yada. I mean, it was just everywhere. I don't even hardly see anybody sharing the Gadsden flag these days, okay? But I sure don't see that speak right now. I sure do not see that speak right now. It's been so quiet about what's going on in Deerfield. And do I think that it's because of Facebook's algorithms or YouTube's algorithms? No, I don't. I think it's because of a bunch of pansies. That's exactly what I think. And if you were to corner these people, these out of my cold dead hands people, they'd be nothing but excuses. Well, I got... I got young'uns, You do. That's my favorite one, by the way. I got young'uns. I got little ones that I have to worry about. Yeah, you damn skippy you do. So why are you being a panty waste? Why are you passing the buck on to your child to deal with this? See, this is where I don't make a lot of fans. Because I call it out. I call it out. And it doesn't make me a jerk for wanting this country to be better. Just like with Gavin Syme, it doesn't make him a jerk to want this country to be better. You don't have to like its personality. Where the hell did this idea come from? That you had to just be in love with somebody to let them tell you the news. Or to let them show you what's going on. I mean, it's crazy. You turn on Fox News, don't know if you're watching a news show or the titty bar, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I don't know if they're quite so bad on that right now. Tucker Carlson's kind of a homely character. And I'm not calling him out because I'm beyond homely. But I'm just saying, just in the, just in humor. But, You know, we have to get out of this mindset that we're in, and we're in so many different mindsets right now, it's incredible. And we have to shed them because we are a sinking ship. And right now, there's a huge gash in the hull of our ship, which would be a great place to start patching it if we're going to stop it from going down. And that gash is Deerfield, Illinois. But we have to start understanding things like why Gavin would run to Mexico. Because his support, the people to back him, was so minimal, especially thanks to scumbags like Pete Scamtilli. You expect these residents of Deerfield, Illinois to jump in the streets, open carrying with their AR-15 and saying, hell no? I just showed you a video of a guy that didn't get aggressive or anything like that. And he had to be carried out with his head wrapped in a towel and received an absolutely brutal beating. You know, again, guys, like I've said, I'm not anti-government, I'm not anti-police, I'm not. I want things to go the way they should go. I want things to be fixed, put back the way they should be. And our government is absolutely screwed to the roof right now, and so is law enforcement. They're acting like a bunch of damn stormtroopers. And our government's acting like the mafia. It's insane. I'm not anti any of it. I'm pro fixing it. And if the right has paid any attention at all over the previous years, especially with Occupy Wall Street, you can even have 100,000 people in the streets, and that's no joke. 100,000 people in the streets. And the stormtroopers will still come and smash skulls. That's what I meant the other day about the right getting their heads out of their butts and the left getting their heads out of their butts. Because that is how they're keeping their control over us. People are too busy fighting one another while they're just stomping on our necks with everything they've got. So is Gavin's sign courageous or cowardice? I would say courageous. Because we didn't give him a choice to be anything else. Meaning, we didn't give him a choice to be able to be courageous in any other manner, any other way. We let him hang there alone by himself. And if he would have stuck around, he would have likely hung by himself. Don't forget that song that LaVoy Finicum, his daughters sang. It's a good lesson for all of this. It goes hand in hand with what I've been saying. I'm going to close up the monologue and think about what I've said, especially those that consider themselves or at least aware of the Bundy Patriot community. Think about the things I just said. As for everybody, let's figure out how we can rally a whole ton of people up to Deerfield, Illinois, and quick. There's not much time. People are more than free to contact me. I don't have a big voice. I don't, but I'm in it. I'm in it, without a doubt. So whether you contact me or whether you have somebody who is bigger than I am to contact me or whatever, I want to help. I want to do my part. We need to do something. This isn't about whose idea it is, or no. It's not. It's about achieving a goal. Please help. Please. This is a very big deal. Very, very big deal. Anyway, I'll close up the monologue and I'll continue on with the live show. But for those that just watched the monologue, I want to say thank you. God bless you. Be one with your spirit. And please help those people in Deerfield, Illinois. Alrighty, let me grab you a video. As far as I know, Gavin is fine. I don't believe there's anything wrong with Gavin at all, other than his current situation. So let's see. It's something, by the way, let me explain that if he kind of came in a little late, Annie and Alfie. The thing with Gavin has been bothering me since it happened. And it's something that I've been mulling over in my head over and over and over, and will likely do so for a very, very long time. But, you know, it gets old, people saying he's a coward, people saying it's his fault, people saying this, that, and the other thing. People that were not put in his position and have no bearing to be able to make those calls. So, you know, it's crazy. At least Gavin was out there trying to do something. He wasn't just running his mouth. He was out there on the ground with a camera in his hand. He was actually trying to do something. And to me, you know, that automatically put him in the line of fire, so to speak. And that's exactly what happened. He was, you know, he was attacked as a result of his activism. So, you know, was it his fault? Yeah, because he was fighting for us. And those that can't fight back for him is just a bunch of penny-waste pussies. Pardon the language. It frustrates me. Frustrates me. Gavin's a good man. And the stuff that I've heard about him and heard him called and claims I've heard, they upset me. Greatly. They really do. The man did nothing but try to help us. And in return, he got screwed. So, but anyway, that's why I was speaking about Gavin. As far as I know, everything is the same as what it was. So I haven't heard anything different. Let's see. I got to get the doggo out. Here's Full Spectrum Survival News in 2 minutes. Today's episode was titled Fuego Eruption Dangers, Iran Nuclear Gains, Border Sovereignty, and Ebola Borders.
This is Full Spectrum Survival's News in 2 minutes. Volcanologists are warning that Guatemala's Fuego volcano is continuing to erupt, with major shelling outbursts of rock and ash nearly 3 days after an initial eruption killed at least 70 people, with officials fearing that number to increase dramatically due to hampered rescue efforts and signs that some may yet still be trapped beneath the fallout from the initial eruption. Authorities warn that nearly 2 million citizens have been directly impacted by this natural disaster, where they continue to sound the alarm for a growing number of survivors of the initial blast to evacuate the area, leaving behind their homes and their goods for safer ground until this eruption finally comes to an end. In other news, a move by Ethiopia's new prime minister is being...
Hang on a second. Did I put that in the wrong spot? Yes, I did. I'm a tard. Hang on. I'll restart it. Sorry. Sorry about that. I was trying to rush to get the doggo out. And you see what I did? God. Hang on. Let me try this one more time.
This is Full Spectrum Survival's News in 2 Minutes. Volcanologists are warning that Guatemala's Fuego volcano is continuing to erupt, with major shelling outbursts of rock and ash nearly 3 days after an initial eruption killed at least 70 people, with officials fearing that number to increase dramatically due to hampered rescue efforts and signs that some may yet still be trapped beneath the fallout from the initial eruption. Authorities warn that nearly 2 million citizens have been directly impacted by this natural disaster, where they continue to sound the alarm for a growing number of survivors of the initial blast to evacuate the area, leaving behind their homes and their goods for safer ground until this eruption finally comes to an end. In other news, a move by Ethiopia's new prime minister is being seen by some as a selling out of the country to the United Nations after a deal was announced that would see the United Nations issue a ruling over the sovereignty of contested land and border regions that have caused decades of bloodshed and conflict with Eritrea. Opponents to a nuclear-powered and weaponized Iran are sounding new warnings after the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran claimed late on Tuesday that the country has begun to prepare the infrastructure for building advanced centrifuges at one of its capable enrichment facilities, with the caveat that Iran will be respecting earlier commitments. Humanitarian aid groups are claiming that a Western-backed and United States-supported war on the country of Yemen by Saudi Arabia is leading to a crisis that could unravel into chaos, not just in Yemen, but in the entire region. Recent reports show that Saudi Arabia and its allies have been advancing on one region in particular, launching frequent attacks on port authorities and guards that are patrolling the sea, with new reports indicating that a Saudi mission destroyed a vessel that was delivering humanitarian aid, stopping civilians and not fighters from getting access to aid and medicine that is severely needed. And to wrap things up, misinformation is spreading over suspected in-hospital cases of the MERS coronavirus, showing the depth of Ebola and its potential to grow in numbers. Free healthcare is being declared across the DRC, and the World Health Organization is mapping out plans to halt the Ebola virus at bordering points of entry. And that wraps up this episode of the News in 2 Minutes. This week's News in 2 Minutes is brought to you in part by Soul-Arc.com, offering EMP, CME, and lightning-protected solar kits to our community. With multiple kilowatt power options protected from radiation and exposure, you will be able to retain personal infrastructure when others cannot. And ProTripTips.com, from a member of our active community with the understanding that you are your own first and last line of defense. Pro Trip Tips offers a course that will turn you into a harder target while on the road.
Alrighty, and I did have one other thing I wanted to mention too. Not necessarily monologue stuff, but just not necessarily monologue stuff, but just in general what they do. So anyway, this whole thing in Arizona with this trafficking stuff. So I've been telling people that I think, for one, it's a setup, and I think it's a distraction. And I sat there and I was thinking about this today, and of course I'm constantly looking on social media and stuff like that, and seeing what people are talking about, what's trending in reality, not what Twitter or Facebook or anything else tells me is trending. I use my own eyes and ears to understand what's truly trending. And I keep hearing people the same thing, these Mexican cartels, that, the trafficking, right? And I thought, bingo, that's what it is. Because nobody could say anything about child trafficking without blaming Mexicans for the child trafficking. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Our own U.S. government, right? Agencies like child welfare agencies are some of the biggest contributors to the child trafficking rings. there's your distraction. Anyway, it hit me today. It hit me today. Okay, here we go. Suspicious observers. This morning's episode's titled Problems in Science. Volcano situations worsen.
Good morning, folks. There's one image in today's news some may find disturbing. I sure did, and discretion is advised. We've got the top news and events of the last day, starting with spaceweathernews.com. Last 24 hours on our star finds small dark patches, but no solid coronal holes. One bright active region departing top right. Ones entering north on the left do not have any sunspots associated with them. The solar flaring has hit a flat line once more as the disk is without sunspots, as we said. And so when we come to 171 angstroms, we can see how puny those Earth-facing regions are compared to the one heading to the far side top right. And that one didn't really do much itself. Even less is expected of these. Solar wind at Earth has entirely calmed. We are out of the coronal hole stream and back to ultra quiet, KP0 when we looked this morning. Looking in 211 angstroms, one must recognize these are merely some dark patches amidst a weak corona, not true coronal holes except perhaps for that last portion bringing up the rear. Here's little Mercury conjoining the Sun a few hours ago. In 3 days, remember, we've got that four-way lineup of Mercury, Sun, Mars, and Saturn. The top lithospheric event of the last day was a 5.5 volcanic eruption in Hawaii. We did note this in last night's short update, and again, the two largest eruptions among the dozens so far are the 5.5s the last 2 days. Of course, there is more on Fuego in Guatemala as well. More eruptions, more pyroclastic flows, rescue efforts completely shut down. The deadliest volcanic eruption in decades has killed over 70 people and happened faster than even the nature-sensitive wildlife could avoid. Hopefully it's over for now, but there's no guarantee. Looking ahead to tomorrow, data on the science discovery has been embargoed until the press meeting tomorrow, but let the speculation begin on what the rover found this time on Mars. On to what is becoming a regular part of the show, Problems in Science. If you have paid attention to the dark matter fail, other problems in cosmology, etc., you might be wondering how it all went so wrong. This article describes many of the systematic errors that came into the process, including conflicting data sets, which is exactly what those Maryland professors said about the climate realm. We showed that paper on June 3rd. Lastly here, perhaps the biggest and most well-known historical science issue to this community is carbon dating. Cornell says it's wrong, and shifts in the Earth's environment can change basic assumptions about the process throughout history. This is indeed the "how old is it really" topic, and one of the first major recognitions of its grand issue. We've got your wind maps and shots of our star to close. We greatly appreciate your support, and we'll do this all again tomorrow, right here, but right now it's 4:30 a.m. in the new valley at the sun. Eyes open, no fear. Be safe, everyone.
Alrighty, let's see here. JSNP, Crypto, and others is talking the crap that's going on with McCabe and Sessions, and that's another distraction that I ignore, because guess what? Hillary's not going to jail. Let's see. Pastor Dow had one that was very interesting, and I thank him for putting the link in the description of his videos so I could go see for myself, because it was priceless. It was priceless. I think it speaks a lot. And anyway, well, he's got a video titled "Watch Trump fakes singing the anthem."
The art of deflection. Let me talk about this for a second, and then show the amazing hypocrisy and how easy it is to get people stirred up over nothing. Now, I watched yesterday that ceremony that Donald Trump did to celebrate America, its flag, and all this other stuff. I got to ask a question, because I know that I saw right, but I need a confirmation. Did y'all see the president trying to sing the national anthem? He don't know the words. Matter of fact, there's not one song that they sung that he knew the words to. You see, but y'all see what I'm talking about, how easy it is to gain people and get them upset? It's like people are a bunch of sheeple, just a bunch of sheeple being led to the slaughter. Now, He spun the whole reason why we're here in the first place. Did this as a dig in the face of Philadelphia Eagles. But if you're going to be so passionate about something, at least don't embarrass yourself on the national stage by singing and not even knowing the words. He don't know the words. He simply did not know the words. If you saw this, you tell me what you think, okay? It's utterly amazing.
So, pardon me. I got to show you this. This is funny. Now I have to pause it real quick because this is this is the Crony News Network, so I had to pause it for just a second, you know, because of obvious reasons. But anyway, watch his lips. So, and he, throughout the entire thing, he does that. He just, like, quits singing and just kind of, like, moves his head and, you know, like, he didn't know the lyrics. Now, here's the thing, and this is why I'm critical of this, okay? The reason I'm critical about this is if you're going to want to attack other people for the things that he's been attacking them for, such as kneeling and this and that and the other thing, don't you think the least you could do if you're going to have a ceremony respecting the flag and everything, which I stand behind, I don't have a problem with that, but don't you think he might have went over the lyrics a time or two before the ceremony? Just saying. I thought it was comical. I'm really not saying anything other than that, but it's indeed, in my opinion, funny. So anyway, Pepper Nurse came out with his video. Let's go ahead and get it out of the way. Jen's already got it up on his website. And today's video from Pepper Nurse is titled, as soon as I grab the link here, How Will All the Volcanoes Going Off Affect You?
I hate that it cuts off the air. This is where a tide thing should be. Like up here.
No, it's fine, Mom.
I'm afraid it's going to break off.
No, it's okay.
It's such a weak little limb.
Hey everybody, Prepper Nurse 1 here. Today is Wednesday, June 6th, 2018. So I'm going to go over a couple things real quick and then I'm going to jump into the video. So somebody was asking me about the rebar. My neighbor Greg had given me a whole bunch. He's got a whole bunch still. But he had given me a bunch of this rebar to use. And that's where I got the rebar. So actually the rebar didn't cost me anything. He had a whole bunch of it. He said help yourself. And so we've been using that rebar in and around the garden and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm going to show you now. And obviously to secure the fruit trees. So let me go over here real quick first and I'll show you what we were working on today. So that fencing that my cousin had given me, we started it here and got a good ways around the backside here. And then Jeff had brought a roll, and you can actually see the difference because you'll see it's a little bit higher over there on the end. And that piece that he had brought came around here. So Jeff, thank you again for that because that helped secure the rest of that part of the garden. And I had a piece left as well. So what I did first of all, I cut this here. So this is zip tied onto this one. And then we just have that leaning against there and with a stone. And that's our way to get into the garden. So then what we did is this extra 10-foot piece that we still had left, because I had used 90 feet of that 100-foot roll. We put that down through the center here. So these plants, we're going to train them so they climb right up and go that way. And then what we also did is with this extra piece of the piece that I had, we ran it this way, all the way through here, and tied it in with the rebar over here. So you can see we used a lot of rebar to help for supports and stuff like this. But these are going to give this opportunity for, like, these plants all through here. They can go either way. They can come up the fence this way, or they can go up the fence that way. And these ones on the other side, there's the ones there, we're going to try to train them to go this way, because in the center here is the potatoes. So we don't want them to go that way. We want them to come this way and climb the fence there. And then we have, these are the 2 zucchini. So this one can go whatever way it wants to go. And like I said, these guys here, all in this area, they can go either way. It doesn't make any difference. So that's kind of how we set it up that way. Yeah, so we used the roll that my cousin had given me. We started at that far corner over there and came all the way around to this point here. So we used, it was quite a big amount of the garden. And then the piece that Jeff had brought, we took that over to the edge. And like I said, then the other pieces that we had, and I had that 10-foot piece for the center. So hopefully we can get all these wandering plants to trellis up, and that would be freaking absolutely awesome, because we got, like I said, we have cantaloupe, we have squash, we have the zucchini, we have cucumbers. So all those there are all wandering plants. We want them to all climb, and that's hopefully what they're going to do. What we also were doing was putting stone, and we're going to get more. We started with what we were doing here, putting stone along the edge to secure the bottom. So there will be more stone that goes in here, along here. But this front edge is now pretty secure with stone, that whole front edge. So what I opened that up a little bit so that I can actually bring the lawnmower in and hit that part right here. Okay? So that was our chore of the day. Today, as you can see, I'm going to kick it up here so you can see, very overcast. We had rain quite a bit this morning. It rained for quite a while, so it wasn't supposed to rain, but it did anyway. But that's okay. So we got a lot of rain today, so that was good. So then when we got going, we probably started around noon and getting all this squared away. Got all that done, so that's all squared away now. And now we're in the process of picking up more stone, which we're never out of stone on the property. And that'll go around the whole garden to secure it better. Okay, so let's talk about the topic of today's video. How are the volcanoes that are going off around the world, how will they affect you? Okay, so let's talk about that. Okay, so first of all, actually I want to bring up something. The death toll for the volcano in Guatemala, which by the way they said everything was fine and normal, and they didn't warn the people ahead of time, so the people had no warning until it was too late. There are 75 confirmed dead at this point, and 190 people missing, which are presumed dead. Okay, it's quite a few people for them not letting these people know that there was a possibility that this volcano could go off. And it did, unfortunately, and so my heart goes out to those families down there with the loss of life. But that volcano alone went up 15,000 feet in the air with the first explosion. Now there's been a second explosion since then. I'm not sure how high that one went off, but the first explosion from that volcano put ash 15,000 feet in the air. So I'm gonna give you kind of an idea. Back in the day, I used to jump out of airplanes for fun, and you jumped out at 2,800 feet. And I'm going to tell you what, when you're in an airplane and you're standing out there and you're looking, and you're 2,800 feet in the air with static line jump, so you're hooked into the plane, and as soon as you jump, your chute starts to deploy. But when you're 2,800 feet up in the air and you're looking down at Earth, it is a long way down, okay? It really, truly is a long way down. So think about 15,000 feet. This stuff is going up into the atmosphere. All this volcanic ash and everything else out of the volcano is going up 15,000 feet into the air. How does that affect us? Well, it's not going to affect me because I don't live in Guatemala. Actually, it can. It can affect the weather. All these different volcanoes with the increased activity, the volcano in Hawaii, that's putting stuff up there too. Now, there's a lot of lava flow with that as well, but that still put ash and stuff when it initially went up into the upper atmosphere, okay? That can affect our weather, folks. It starts to block the sun, and we're having a lot more of that happening because of the fact of these volcanoes going off. It will affect the weather. If you go back and you look at the different events through history, and how much it brought the temperature of the planet down. And those are like one of these, and it was more of a major volcano, you know, that affected that. You know, if you look back recent history, we had Mount St. Helens went off in 1980, okay, and that put a whole bunch of stuff, and it was such a minor explosion, but even that affected the weather, okay, and not even talking about all the ash that is dumping down on these different towns and stuff like that. So I mean, it affects those people generally more there, but that's going to affect the weather as well, because it's putting more stuff into the upper atmosphere, which is going to affect us. So all these volcanoes that are going off are definitely going to affect us. Look at the Iceland volcano that went off here a while back, and I can't remember exactly when it went off, but I remember seeing in the news how it affected air travel, and people were not able to fly because you can't fly your airplane through the ash cloud, because it will clog up the engines and kill the engines. So that's, you know, there's another way it obviously will affect us. So there's a lot of different ways that these things are happening. We're seeing a lot more activity with these volcanoes. So there's obviously something going on, and hopefully we don't have a whole lot more of these going off, because otherwise it will definitely be affecting our weather. Today, right now, in the town, it's saying it's 61. It's always 6 to 8 degrees colder up here, so I would say it's maybe 55 degrees up here right now where we are, because of our elevation is that much higher. So it definitely affects us. So we're always colder than town, between 6 and 8 degrees. So that's, you know, it was kind of chilly today. I mean, I got a sweatshirt on. I mean, it's June 6th and I'm wearing a sweatshirt, you know, so, and I've been working, so it's not like, you know, but it's, you know, it is what it is. But so today we pulled in 2.7 kilowatt hours so far today. Not going to get a whole lot of power today. We didn't get a whole lot of power, like I said, yesterday. We didn't do bad yesterday. I think actually we ended up over 4 with yesterday, but the sun was in and out yesterday, where like you can see with today, I'm going to kick this pandas back up here so you guys can see, there's not going to be sunshine today. It's been overcast all day. It actually looks like it may rain again. The only good thing is there's no wind today, so that's helpful. Mom has been staying here, and that's the banging you hear in the background is actually her picking up more stone. And when I'm done making this video, I'm going to go and continue to help her with that so we can add more stone around the garden. But you know, it's interesting that you know, with the weather, watching the weather, how that's going to do. That's why it's going to be so important that this year we get a greenhouse in this year. I want to be able to grow from seed, you know, start my plants really early next year and get things going in the greenhouse nice and early, so that we can have everything squared away. So if we decide to transplant and have some outside and an outside garden, like I said, this whole area here where the garden is, I would like to turn this whole thing, this whole area, into a big greenhouse area. And this would be a perfect spot for this to happen, okay? The garden is actually growing fantastic. We've had no issues. And actually, I don't know if I can show you so that you can see. You could probably see right through here. Some of the onions that I planted, the small little dinky onions, they're coming up now through in that area right through here, okay? So, you know, it's coming together. And like I said, you got to have the rain to help everything grow. We haven't had the water now for like 3 days in a row, so that's a good thing too. But we got the water there. The water storage tank is full because the back side is still hooked up to the rain catchment. And so my storage tank for water is at 550 gallons. And that is completely full right now. And we use that for watering the garden when we have to. So we're not going to run out of water anytime soon. And that, like I said, that's just an extra way of having extra water. And that's why we do it that way. So anyhow, that's what's happening. That's what we're working on today. I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are. How do you think that these different volcanoes, the one that just happened in Guatemala, the one that's, you know, going on actively right now in Hawaii, and the different things around the country and around the world that are just, it's getting much more active. And how do you think that that's going to affect us? I definitely want to get your feedback on that, guys. So please, you know, put your comments in. Please like, comment, and share the video with other people so that they can see that information too. I think a lot of people don't pay attention. And people really do need to pay attention to what is going around, because it may not always be in our country, but it will affect us indirectly at some point. Okay, so anyway, guys, listen, I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you're having a great week. Remember, guys, hug and kiss the ones you love. Tell them every single day. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. We never know what's going to happen. And remember STD. It's one step at a time, one thing at a time, and one day at a time. Whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to accomplish, if you work at things methodically, they're going to get done, okay? I mean, my project that I wanted to get done today was getting this garden fenced in to keep the cats out, to keep other critters out and stuff like that. Now, will that keep out deer? No, okay? But hopefully they did. I know last year the fencing was about the same level, and the deer never went in the garden last year. So hopefully we won't have deer in there, but I know that the cats can't get in there anymore, which is great, and the puppies are not going to get in there, and any other critters are not going to be able to get in there. So that's what we're working on, and that's what we wanted to get done, and that's what we did today. So, in my opinion, very successful day. Always making forward progress. That's what it's all about, guys. Okay? Remember, everything that we're doing, guys, is prepping for life. You prep for life events, okay? You're not prepping for the ultimate gloom and doom. That's not what this is about. This is about prepping for normal life events that are going to affect you at some point, no matter what, okay? So anyway, listen, I will talk to you all tomorrow. Prepper Nurse 1, out for now.
Alrighty, we got one from Florida McKee titled, "A Clearer Picture Emerges Now of the Real Players in Florida."
I figure since the channel is already down the rabbit hole of controversy, we might as well continue the trip and see how far we can go. I made the allegation yesterday in those videos that this issue down in Parkland was a coordinated effort, and two of the main figures out at the front of the anti-gun push were actually part of it. Now, this is a quote from Karl Marx, and if you step back and you take a look at what's really happening in our society now, you will see that while most have focused on the kid who's doing the thing in Publix, laying down in the grocery store, nobody is really paying attention to Miss Gonzalez. I also made the allegation that this smacks of an ELN operation. A lot of you didn't know who that was. In the initial video, I talked about this way back in March, who the Ejército Liberación Nacional in Colombia is. Their operations in Venezuela and Venezuela's ties to this area called Weston. Weston, Florida is where Miss Gonzalez began her big march. This is a hugely Venezuelan populated area. Now, with this quote in mind, anyone who knows anything of history knows that great social changes are impossible without feminine upheaval. Social progress can be measured exactly by the social position of the fair sex, the ugly ones included. Okay. Well, a quote's a quote, I guess. They are acting, these two, like revolutionaries, and they are thinking like revolutionaries. They're not thinking like kids who didn't have a plan. They are affecting a plan that was created long before this event ever happened. And a lot of other channels have pulled up evidence that there were things done ahead of time to coordinate this. Now, still, people are probably asking, what does this have to do with the ELN? Remember when these pictures first came out? And we saw this kid, full face cover black, holding up guns, but he was also, over here, full face cover red. Now, this idea that this had anything to do with MAGA has nothing to do with it. But think like a kid, ahead of time, setting all of this up. What would you want the effect to be? Clearly these kids are anti-Trumpers. And clearly these kids have a problem with the U.S. military. So what hats was he wearing? One to support the president, one to attack the military, but the colors, red and black, have always been associated with Antifa. The colors of the school were red and black, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, and one thing that I haven't shared about the ELN is that they are, unlike the FARC, populated almost exclusively by women. And that is what made them so effective. One of the reasons that Colombia sat down and did the peace process with the FARC and not with the ELN is, first of all, the ELN had no interest in it. And second of all, they're still very, very, very conservative down there. They don't see women as worthy of sitting at a table across from a man and making decisions. It's just the truth. The highest levels of the ELN are run and controlled by women. So this is what makes me think that they have a hand in this. Now, also, the ELN, you're asking, okay, well, what would the goal of the ELN be? Why would they care about a school shooting? Why would they care? It has to do with this. You see, the ELN, over the last few years, has been operating out of Venezuela because of the problems there. It's been a lawless state almost as much as Colombia. But there's also Hezbollah that has been operating. One of their biggest operational areas is Brazil, just south of Venezuela. And it was giving them an in. The vice president, of course, I've talked about of Venezuela at length, Tariq El-Aissami. The ELN is seen as, quote-unquote, leftist down there. Now, the differences I've tried to explain here between left and right, South America right, left versus North America right, left, is very different. Down there, the conservatives, the right wing, down there, are staunchly pro-Catholic. Okay, and this is right from Columbia Reports. I brought this up just so you can read it. The party can be understood through its most enduring values. Its most controversial core principle is an unwavering fidelity to the Catholic Church, converts belief into tradition, the family is the foundation of society, and the opposition to a separation of church and state. Okay, so can you think of a more anti-Catholic organization than possibly Hezbollah? Zoom out here to get a better picture. Okay, and down here, remember, conservatives are seen in blue and liberals are seen in red. Now, also down here, liberals, people that are called liberals or leftists, believe in things that pretty much mirror our Bill of Rights. It's a very strange dichotomy. When you talk about the right to have a weapon, the right to free speech, the right to due process, one man, one vote, the right to assembly, all this kind of stuff is seen as leftist down there. The power of the people type of thing is seen as anti-conservative. It's not that way up here, but you have to understand how these people think. So when Hezbollah infiltrated down there, they infiltrated the leftists because they were anti-Catholic. Now, it's a very dangerous place down there for some people who are anti-Catholic. That's why they're largely labeled as terrorists and horrible, horrible people. The leftist paramilitaries versus the right-wing paramilitaries you don't hear very much about, because the right-wing paramilitaries are pro-Catholic and they're who control the media down there. Okay, so this is the blind spot, I think, that is being ignored by our current media and our current administration. I hate to say this. I wish I could have an hour with the president to sit and talk to him about this. Now, this is a website called The Trace. This is all of the states that since Parkland have either passed or are considering very close to passing these red flag laws. that allow basically an anonymous person to call up their local government or whoever police station and say, oh, my neighbor is acting crazy and he has guns. And all they have to do is that. And then the cop goes over there and says, yeah, you know, and they do a 72-hour hold. We're going to, like, just make sure you're okay and you're not going to hurt yourself or anything. They used to be able to take the person and hold them for 72 hours, but now they can go in and take the guns and hold them for up to a year. Prior to Parkland, there were only 5 states. Now there are 10 with them passed, and another 9 considering them. This is a huge, huge win for the anti-gunners. There's no Democrat administration that would have ever dreamed of being this successful. So what you have to think of is effect when it comes to Hezbollah. They're changing, they're morphing. This region down here is very, very different than the rest of the country. Almost everyone either speaks or knows Spanish. This kid's name was Nicholas Cruz, for God's sakes, and her name was Emma Gonzalez. Okay, so this is not something that would be lost on a group like Hezbollah. If they could effect a mass casualty attack in this country and get this country to blame itself for it, that would be a huge win. And in the process, the cherry on the top of the sundae is that they start removing guns, opening the door for more mass casualty attacks. That's their big stopping point here in this country to actually doing these huge attacks like they do over in Europe, is that they're afraid of armed Americans. Look at the net effect. They've used children to promote this agenda, and if you come out against them, you're supposedly anti-kid now, or you're anti-law enforcement, or something like that. And they're sitting down there and laughing their ass off because they're not even being seen as the target. And they're just going to wait, and they're going to bide their time. The ELN, Hezbollah, are working together to affect this. The ELN is the doorway into that part of Florida because of their heavy influence through Venezuela, I guess, is what I failed to communicate. Is Hezbollah is using their alliance with the ELN, not to further ELN goals, but to further their own goals by using their contacts in Venezuela that exist in Florida. Does that make sense? I hope this video clears that up a little bit. It's a complicated thing with a lot of moving parts, but just like anything like this, it takes some inside knowledge to understand what's really going on, to have it make sense. So, anyway, 12 minutes. We'll leave it there. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much. Real quick, the Patreon channel is doing great. We have our actual first operating Maquis cell. We have 24 people that have stepped up and taken positions all throughout the hierarchy. We have Maquis Master. We have 3 people that are at the Maquis Round Table. We have, I think, 6 that are special access need to know, and everyone else is either a regional coordinator or still in the training level at the $5 level. So if you can join us there, the more people we have operating white hat psychological operations to counter what's going on in our media, the better. So thank you so much. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Alrighty, let's see here. Actually, I want to play, we got some cool stuff today, we really do. I'm anxious to see this one, so it's going to jump the list and I'm going to play it next. Why am I anxious to see it? Well, because we had one not far from our location where we are right now. Since then, supposedly everything had been torn down, and I'll give it that the silo and all that's torn down. But I believe the tunnels and stuff are still intact. In fact, I know the tunnels are still intact, and I have my suspicions about that place in particular. I think I do honestly think that they moved stuff underground. I think they did that a long time ago. I don't think that was when they took the silos down and stuff like that. I think it was quite a while back that they put the actual current silos underground. But anyway, it's the Daily Woo, and it's abandoned mountaintop missile site, open to public, LA 960 or LA 96C. This is an old abandoned Nike missile base that apparently has been open to the public.
Today's adventure brings us up to the top of a mountain on an unpaved portion of Mulholland Drive. And the views from up here aren't too shabby. Still have a ways to go, however, till I reach the top. You can see it in view. Right there. That's where I'm heading. Welcome everyone, Adam the Woo here to San Vincent Mountain Park, to an old missile site that was built during the Cold War era. Sits abandoned, but I use that word very loosely because it is open to the public. Anyone can hike up here and just look around, and that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to dive into a little bizarre history in the mountains near Los Angeles. Join me, shall you? You can also opt to drive up here, but be aware that the roads are closed nightly from sunset to 8 a.m. So if you do bring a vehicle up this path, don't show up till at least 8 a.m. daylight hours. And once you reach the top, you will see other access roads that have gates that are always locked. They are not accessible by motorcycles, motor scooters, or other motor vehicles are prohibited. However, there are walking and hiking trails designated around the side of the stanchions, so you can go that way, or if you're daring, maybe even down this weird pathway that's now grown over with foliage. Our first glimpse, there it is. The tower off in the distance, and here to the left, the old guard shack is still on site. LA 96C, formerly a Nike missile control site, U.S. Army, from 1956 to 1968. Currently the San Vincent Mountain Park, gateway to the big wild. Restricted entry, but only for vehicles. Everyone else is welcome. One of 16 Nike missile sites that protected LA from a feared attack by Soviet bombers. However, new military technology made those Nike missiles obsolete, and the site has been made into a park. Nature is reclaiming the military ruins. You know how when you come to a railroad crossing, there are those items that come down to block the road? Well, I think, don't quote me on this piece of machinery was similar to that. Parts of it on either side, which lowered and raised. That's my best guess, that the guard stood in here and there was obviously some sort of electrical equipment mounted there, and on the side of that concrete wall that operated that, and the bars would come down, stopping anyone that tried to get in right through here. Manned around the clock to prevent entry of anyone not allowed on military business. Today, it has been partially restored to give you the feeling of the site as a heavily secured and harsh military outpost. Proceed with caution. There are quite a few remnants like this. A few other rules to follow up here. No defacing or destroying property, no alcoholic beverages, no firearms, and one step further, do not bring a bow and arrow. Those are not permitted. Kind of surprised to see some operating facilities up here. There's a bathroom complex and a water fountain. Today, however, don't want to get too close to the water fountain. There is an infestation of bees. Can you see all those bees? Oh, one tried to get on my hand. Listen, you can hear them swarming. Oh my gosh, okay, that's too close. No longer any orders or notices posted on the board, but I did notice this dog bowl, 13 great years. That's Bosco's dog bowl. That hawk flying around. The soldiers lived inside this fenced area. And I know that because it is written here on this information board. These are some of the animals that used to be seen very prominently around here. The mountain lion, the bobcat, the gray fox, the cottontail rabbit, the raccoon, and the mule deer. Wildlife is not as abundant today because of urbanization. However, public agencies are working together to conserve 200,000 acres. And here's a map, a layout of the land. Currently, I'm right there. It's a small plane. I really like all the information placards they have up. Pretty good overview of the entire area. The first thing when I entered was the sentry post, but there's also a radar tower, a radar pad, control trailers, a generator, some water tanks, some barracks, and the latrine, which is the bathroom, has been replaced with a modern restroom. Don't get any bright ideas to climb to the top of the water towers. They are one step ahead of us by placing a chunk of metal over the ladder, making it extremely difficult and dangerous. You'd probably need a tetanus shot if you attempted it. Do not be too disappointed, because we are allowed to go up there. In fact, there's a very convenient walkway with stairs. How the system worked. Number one, radar would detect enemy airplane, followed by sending a location to a computer. The computer would activate missile guidance radar. The missile would be launched, missile booster would fall off, radar would guide missiles to enemy airplane, and a warhead would detonate, destroying airplanes before it could bomb Los Angeles.
Wait a minute, time out. I gotta jump in here. The Nike missile system was not anti-aircraft. That was a ballistic nuclear missile. Is that not interesting? It was a ballistic, intercontinental ballistic missile system, the Nike. Wow. That is crazy that they changed that up there.
Holy cow. Know your job. No need for a Stairmaster. All you need is an old abandoned military base. Get your exercise. It's a good workout. 1,950 feet above sea level. It's 15 miles to downtown and about 10 miles to Venice Beach. After crossing that little metal bridge and ascending these stairs, we've officially reached the top. Give a little 360 view here. I'll meander around the top of the platform. You can just see the vastness of what can be seen from up here. Pretty cool. You can see for miles up here. It's a little hazy and smoggy today, but not too terribly bad. You can see way off in the distance. I always wonder about places like this. How many people that live down there have no idea that it exists just above their heads? certain portions are heavily razor wired off. They do not want you scaling these fences, but you can peek in and just see what's down there. There are some former foundations at the bottom of the hill. That is also off limits as well. Jumping that fence would not be wise. I'm not recommending it. We are not granted access to down below that grate. You can see there's some pipes leading down into some sort of underground bunker below us. Soldiers were on a 15-minute alert in case of attack. If an enemy airplane had been located where I am now standing, computers would have activated the missiles 4.5 miles away. For security reason, the soldiers knew only what their assigned jobs were. No one knew exactly how the full system worked. Down below the bottom of the hill now, at what I stated was a bunker, in reality it's something that is currently still used modern day. You can see the door there and you can hear, you know, some engines and things shifting and roaring around down in there. All the bells and whistles to keep that going. From down here you can also get a much better view of this relic. Now this is old school and is not currently operational, but look at that. It's a piece of history right there. Now covered in weeds and makeshift flowers. Modern day look, 2018, but there is a photo taking us back to 1961, and there's that same embankment, that same hill right there. If you want to look up on satellite view, the physical address is placed right there, painted on the side of that electrical box. It's funny because when you think of Mulholland Drive, you don't think of the road looking like this. They collected plants and created a small garden, a tender and hopeful symbol during the Cold War, the cactus garden. Quite a bit of cacti still remains going down the side of the embankment. There it is. There's even some way down there. And almost like a beacon of light, popping out of the top is a desert flower. Right there. A beautiful flower amongst all this. To the bottom left of the screen you will see a structure that looks like a house. I believe a park ranger or someone who watches the property lives there. But that's the original location of the barracks. The barracks have been removed and now there's a home. Hello! Hello out there! Hello! I'm yelling at a slightly light, moderate level. I don't want to yell too loud because I might set off this earthquake equipment. Seismic monitoring in progress. Looks like an alien or some sort of robot from a sci-fi movie. Do you have a keen enough eye to see the skyscrapers over the hill in the haze? It's tough to see it. I'm zoomed way in. You can barely see them there. Very peaceful up here. Very serene. It's amazing how you don't have to go too far outside the metropolis of downtown to just get away from it all. It's awesome up here. That's gonna do it for today. If you're new here, please subscribe now. By doing so, it helps keep you in the loop and up to date on future uploads on this channel. If you would like to get an Adam the Woo t-shirt such as this one, you can do so by following the link down in the description box. Get one of these or any other design on Spreadshirt shipped directly to your door, any size, any shape, any color, anywhere in the world. And one final thing, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. By doing so, it lets me know you care. I will also be posting a link to a video by fellow YouTubers Oddity Odysseys, who did a very detailed video on the subject matter of this place. I really enjoyed it, and it prompted me to come out here and check it out. So after you get done watching my video, go over to their channel, their video. You can find that link in the description box, and tell them I said hello. I'll see you in the next video. The vlog is over.
Alrighty, so I done a little Googling, because, well, I don't want to be misinformative. And, you know, I'd always, to my knowledge, that had always been for intercontinental, ballistic missile systems. And so I found a website, nikemissile.org, and interesting what I found out on that website. I was both right and wrong. And as I always tell folks, and this just one more time proves it, if I'm wrong, I will admit it. It's not that big of a deal. I'd rather you have the right information than me have an ego trip, right? So anyway, just going to read the first 3 paragraphs here, and you'll see where I was both right and wrong. The function of an air defense guided missile system is to deter or minimize the effects of enemy attacks by detecting and destroying enemy aircraft and missiles approaching a defended area. These systems must be capable of effective action against targets operating at any altitude and velocity. The systems must also be capable of trajectory corrections after missile launch to permit interception of targets taking evasive actions. In addition, it is desirable that the systems be capable of self-defense against tactical surface targets. The improved Nike Hercules system and the Nike Hercules ATBM system can be used in support of other service groups. So the improved Nike Hercules and Nike Hercules ATBM system consists of this. The improved Nike Hercules Air Defense Guided Missile System and the Nike Hercules ATBM system used integrated radar systems to detect and track targets approaching its defended area. A radar system is also used to guide missiles to intercept and destroy hostile targets. Early warning facilities provide information of the approach of the hostile targets, and either of the 2 acquisition radar systems provides constant long-range detection and surveillance of the targets. The acquisition radar systems supply target, azimuth, and range data to the target tracking radar systems, which acquire and track the targets. A missile tracking radar system acquires a missile while it is still on the launcher, tracks the missile in flight, and transmits steering and warhead burst orders to the missile. Target and missile position data are continuously supplied to a computer system. The computer system furnishes to the battery control officer the information necessary for determining the proper time to launch the missile, and sends steering and warhead burst orders to the missile tracking radar system for transmission to the missile during flight. Targets may be aircraft of missiles, it's supposed to be or. Targets may be aircraft or missiles at speeds up to Mach 3 and altitudes up to 100,000 feet. Both high explosive and nuclear warheads are employed. Nuclear warheads are for use against large formations of aircraft, tactical ballistic missiles, or surface targets, which would be an ICBM that you would nuke another country with. So, anyway, again, I was both right and wrong. I believe the one that was located in Marine, Illinois, but maybe 10-15 minutes from us. I'm pretty sure that one was specifically designed for being able to surface attack another country. But I'm sure it did have a defense system. I have no doubt it had a defense system. Reason being is because there's actually a fair amount of missile systems around this area, but we're not that far from Kansas, Toto, and Kansas has tons and tons of them. And so we're literally, there's a state in between us. Missouri is in between us and Kansas, and you're going to want some distance between the probable target and your defense systems to give you time to be able to intercept whatever could be incoming. We also have Scott Air Force Base, which is pretty close to here, which is a pretty important Air Force base once you understand really all of its functions. So And a lot of those functions are things that really haven't been discussed a whole lot. I will say this, with all the military base closures, Scott really hasn't had to sweat it too much. I'll put it that way. Anyway, I just wanted to correct myself on that and get the proper information out there on the Nike missile systems. So anyway, let's carry on with videos. I thought that was pretty cool. Back up here. Back the truck up. Alright, got one from Pastor Dow on why you should carry a gun.
Well, here's another video in reference to firearms, guns. Why we, as Straightway, carry. I mean, I had some people the other day when we was doing the footing videos, and I was teaching a young man how to actually operate the backhoe. And a lot of Americans, a lot of people out there have a lot of concerns about people like us who say and claim to be in the faith, and yet we carry firearms. Let me try my best to bring a little bit of clarity here this morning to help out some of the minds of the uninformed people that may be a little bit disturbed. Listen to me very carefully, all right? When Jesus, Yeshua, the HaMashiach, or Yeshua the HaMashiach, Yeshua the HaMashiach, when he walked around on the face of planet Earth, I want y'all to listen to me for a second. Have you ever paid attention to how the president walks around? He doesn't have a firearm, but he has so many people that do have firearms around him, and even in places you don't even see. You don't even see them whatsoever at all. The president, even if you watch Louis Farrakhan, he has bodyguards all over the place, which is a very wise thing to do. And as a matter of fact, even not today, you may not know it, but I actually have people that watch over me when we go places. There is nothing wrong with you being trained and being prepared in order to defend yourself, your person, and someone who you love. Nothing wrong whatsoever at all. I don't know what's going on in this society today to where people can easily and readily accept police when they seem to be secure. When a person comes in a uniform and has a badge and a gun, everybody seems to be at ease. But when a regular civilian, veteran, whoever it is carrying a gun, it's like people get all up in arms. This was the world back then. When Jesus walked around, he had armed swordsmen, 12 of them, everywhere he went. Everywhere he went, and rightfully so. Because you saw the attitude of the religious people of the day. They hated him. They despised him. And so do religious people today. Anybody that stands for any truth whatsoever at all, the Bible says you will be hated, and you will only be mostly hated by people who think that they know God. Religious people. And they're the descendants of the scribes and Pharisees. So, just because someone carries a firearm does not make them evil. As a matter of fact, what it does make them is sober and prepared. It is actually commanded by the Messiah, by the Savior, by the Christ, for believers to actually carry a sword. And the firearm is the modern day sword. Modern day, more lethal than any two-edged sword, because you can actually use it and not be up close and put distance between you. It's also an equalizer for women. One woman can easily control. Let's say if you got 4 guys that want to try to come and do something harm, bodily harm or rape one woman, all she has to do is pull out that one gun, and now she's in control. She is in total control. And I love that. I love that, especially with the way that this world is going. With the way that this world is going, I cannot trust law enforcement officers because they have given me no reason to, especially with what's going on today. I cannot even trust these neighbors that I live with around here. As a matter of fact, the only people that I actually can trust is people that I actually know. the people that we're in constant communion and fellowship. Same with you in your world. And it behooves you to always be prepared and to always be ready, because you do not get to pick the day, the time, or the hour when evil comes your way. Luke 22:36, Jesus talks about not only a purse, but he says, as a matter of fact, if you got a cloak and you don't have a sword, he actually tells you to go and buy one. So why are people all disturbed? And what has happened in this world, that whatever the system has done played you and played a lot of mental gymnastics upon your mindset to make you think that someone is a literal threat if they are lawfully, and I hate to say this word, but I'm going to use it anyway, legally carrying a firearm. I mean, what's the big deal? What is the fear that's going on? You should be fearful of today of the people who are actually wearing uniforms that are carrying the firearms, because we're watching what's happening in our society today. You need to protect yourself. And you need to be always ready to protect yourself. Not only does Pastor Dow suggest that you carry a gun, and you have to understand this, that I am a pastor that actually not only teach the people that they should be armed, but I train my people in use of these weapons to be armed. Not only that, we have faithful brethren like Brother Gideon and them that has spent a combat veteran many hours and time. It's just his passion to make sure that Israel is protected. And not only do I believe that you should also have a firearm, I believe you should also at all times carry a knife on you at all times. I even go one more step further. Not only do I believe that you should always carry a knife, I'm gonna go ahead and try this while I'm driving, okay? But I also believe that you should carry a tactical pen, because this is a lethal weapon as well. Am I carrying, I actually use this pen the right way, but this thing is heavy. It's made out of titanium. But think about this for a second. If you had to get into an altercation, and let's just say, God forbid that you do, you should always be ready that if your primary weapon is not working, your secondary weapon is working, and you should have a third, you should always have a contingency plan. You should also know how to have your mind ready to upgrade. Can we all agree that we live in an evil world? Can we all agree with that? And all you have to do is just simply cut on the news. Watch it every single day and watch how many people have become victims at some criminal's crime. I mean, just really, whether they be a deranged civilian or deranged police officer, it makes no difference. You need to be ready. You have one life, and you alone are responsible for that life. Being prepared is not being evil. Being prepared is being smart. And you should always be prepared to protect yourselves. In the ministries of Straightway, it is a command and a demand that you have a firearm, that you carry, you learn how to be trained on, to be proficient, because that we give professional, expert. Now, we don't have the certifications of the NRA and all this other stuff, but I think, you know, being a 10-year veteran, a staff sergeant used to run range and train people, train soldiers how to use firearms, and actually being in JRTC Op 4, I think I'm more than qualified than having this little world certification to actually teach people. I promise you that. And I promise you the instruction that I give you and the instruction that Brother Gideon would give you will be head over heels, above and beyond with that which you out there shooting paper targets. I promise you. Because there's a whole lot more to it than just shooting stationary targets. Stationary targets is just going to get you familiar with the weapon, but it definitely ain't going to show you how to use it in case you had to get in a gunfight. You understand what I mean? You need to know how to move. You need to know how to conceal yourself. You need to know when to fire. You need to know how to use your rate of fire. You need to have your mind ready. You have to be psychologically ready. You have to be trained up so that if a situation does happen, that you're ready to handle it and do it legitimately. I don't understand what this world has done to the people's mindset out there. But if you cannot see that we're going from bad to worse, and if you cannot see that there's evil on every end at this world right here, at every turn, even amongst your own family and your own church people, you need to be ready. So Luke 22:36, go read for yourself and see what the Bible has to say and see what Messiah did. I think I answered this question good enough. I hope that some way, somehow, that I've been able to stimulate thought and also been able to help you in your mindset and your thinking. Husbands, if you love your family, you love your wives, not only would you carry the modern day sword, which is a firearm, but you'll be proficient on it and you would teach her how to use it as well. Not only a firearm, but a secondary weapon, such as a knife. Because right now the handgun to be primary is easy to conceal. And if you can't afford it, you can get an AR pistol. And if you're able to travel and you're on the road and stuff, and hey, I love the advent of the AR pistol because I don't have to carry the big old long thing around now. Now I have superior firepower just in case somebody even has an inkling or thought that they want to try to do me or my family harm. Because the truth is, I'm still in pretty good shape for my age. But I promise you one thing, I ain't about to sit up here and waste all this time, energy, and effort and exerting myself fist fighting and hand-to-hand combat. I mean, I'm more than qualified and well capable of doing, I promise you that. But why do that? Why do that when I could just simply defend myself from a terrorist, a tango, by keeping my mind, being proficient, arming this first, and then being able to be proficient in arming myself, protecting myself, and knowing how to use a firearm. Y'all be encouraged. Protect yourself, protect your family, protect the ones that you love, and always, always be ready.
Alrighty, good advice. Survival Lily has a video. I find it about an interesting topic. How to build a Faraday cage that actually works.
Hi guys, my name is Lily and today I want to build a Faraday cage from an old ammo can. Stay tuned. Well, today I want to build a Faraday cage, and some people might ask, why do you build a Faraday cage? Well, a Faraday cage does protect your electronic equipment against an EMP, an electromagnetic impulse, which is basically a short burst of electromagnetic energy which can destroy your electronic equipment like mobile phone, the electronic equipment in your car, walkie-talkies, and all of the other electronic equipment that you have at your home, for example. So in case of a full-blown EMP, I believe that there will be a lot of chaos and it will take quite some years to fix all of the electronic equipment. And yeah, I want to build this cage to keep at least some of my electronic equipment, some vitals, safe. Now, a Faraday cage should be made from conductive metals like aluminum, iron, steel, copper. There are a couple of more. And I just happen to have this old ammo can in my cellar. And I thought, you know, it's rusty and empty, so why not, you know, use it to make a Faraday cage? And that's what I want to do today. And the second important thing is that you don't have any holes like in a Faraday cage. I've seen some people making a Faraday cage from a fence. So yeah, this might work for very low energy like radio waves, but when there is a full-blown electromagnetic impulse coming in, then gaps are not a good idea to have. Okay, you want to have a closed container and you don't want to have any gaps in between the seal, the lid, and the container itself. So before I start building the Faraday cage, I want to mention two examples of an EMP which can happen every day. The first one is the solar EMP, which comes from the sun. It's an outburst from the coronal mass, and it's called CME, or coronal mass ejection, which can basically happen every day, and it just depends in which direction the Earth stands to the sun. And if we happen to be in the right direction, then we get a full-blown EMP. The second EMP that could happen is a man-made one, nuclear explosions. They can produce quite strong EMPs, and that's the second reason why you should make a Faraday cage. Besides that, there are many other sources of EMPs. For example, lightning strikes, they come with EMPs as well, and even meteoric bursts in the Earth's atmosphere can cause an EMP. So there are a lot of natural causes which cause an EMP, which might cause an EMP, and therefore I want to build this Faraday cage. Okay, now let's start building the Faraday cage. First I want to have a look at my ammo can. So basically this down here is fine, it's very closed and there's no gap down here. And up here there's a seal which I want to take out now. And yeah, otherwise it looks dandy fine. So now let's take out the seal. Okay, I've gotten rid of the old seal. It's still in good condition actually. And now I want to take my ammo can and my Dremel tool, and I want to sand down the spray paint here at the edge of the container and also here at the inside of the container, so that I get, you know, contact between the lid and the container, so that the electrons can flow and then you have a closed container. And yeah, if you just close it like this, then the spray paint will, then basically it's not a Faraday cage because the spray paint is insulating the container, and that's not good, of course. Alright, so now I have to bend back the frame which is on the lid here. There's the second frame which held the seal, and this is now in my way, so I'm bending it back so that I can get into the small slit here with my Dremel tool. Okay, I have discovered a small gap here. Not at this side, here it's really close, but at this side, because there was once the seal and there's now like a 3mm gap, and now I just try to hammer it down. Alright people, so we have the following problem. The ammo can didn't seal off in the beginning, so I took a hammer and hammered it down. And now it's much better, but it's still like 1 millimeter of a gap between the lid and the container itself. So what can you do when you have a lid that doesn't seal 100%? Well, you can take some metal tin and cut out some straps and lay it over the rim of the container, and then you close the lid and it will sit directly on the edges, and then you have 100% contact of the lid and the container. But my problem is that I don't have any metal tin in the shape here. So I just got some aluminum foil from my kitchen, and aluminum is very conductive to electricity, and now I'm just gonna make a makeshift seal, a very crude seal for the lid, and then it will be 100% conductive. You know what? I think I'm going to lay the seal in here, because the other seal was in here as well, and this way maybe it's better, because this frame holds the aluminum in place a little bit better. That's looking pretty good. Okay, here I still have a gap, and here at the front also. So I'm going to take more aluminum foil and push it in here. And in here. Okay, now the lid is ready and it seals off 100%, and that's what we want when building a Faraday cage. The next step is now that I want to take some cardboard and line the inside of the Faraday cage so that the electronic equipment doesn't have direct contact with the cage, because otherwise all of this would be useless. Okay folks, so now I have lined my Faraday cage, and next I want to put in some electronics, which I think is important. So first of all, I want to put in a mobile phone, which I got very cheap from Amazon. It's one of these outdoor phones that you can throw down, and it's waterproof, and it has this flashlight here. And yeah, it has a full battery and it holds for 7 days. So that's my emergency phone. And I'm going to throw it into the Faraday cage with this adapter. It's a 5-volt adapter. So I put this in here. Next I want to put in some walkie-talkies, just in case if the mobile phone network is not working. And these walkie-talkies, they actually have a radio mode as well, so with them you can listen to the radio. So that goes in here as well. And then I have the charging station for the walkie-talkies and the cable that belongs to it. Okay, next I want to put in a charging unit like this one here. It's a charger for AA and AAA nickel metal hydride batteries, which are pretty common actually. So that's going right in there. And then I want to have another charger, which is this one here. This here is for 18650 batteries, and I have loads of them, so I need a charger that's working. And then I want to put in a power bank, so I can charge up, you know, my stuff. So that's that. So I still have a little bit of space left. And yeah, basically you can put in here whatever you want. A flashlight would be great also to put in here. Right now I don't have one to spare, but I'm going to put in a flashlight as well. And yeah, there are so many other things that you can put into your Faraday cage. So now I want to close the lid. Okay, this is how to make a Faraday cage. Not. So we are still missing one thing, which is basically a grounded wire which goes to the ground. Now, I know a lot of people say that you don't need to ground your Faraday cage, and I have done a lot of research on it, and I have come across websites which state that you shouldn't ground your Faraday cage, and then I have came across dozens of other websites which say that you should ground your Faraday cage. So I was really confused about it, and gladly I have a friend which is a nuclear engineer, and I asked him if I should ground my Faraday cage, yes or no. And he said yes, because, you know, the EMP can have so much more energy than, for example, radio waves, right? So this Faraday cage here, if ungrounded, would block out radio waves, and then people believe that now this Faraday cage is good enough for any kind of strength of EMP, but that's wrong. And if an EMP is really strong, like it can be millions of hundreds of times stronger than the strength of radio waves, then this is not enough, and then still your electronic equipment will get damaged. So you need some kind of wire which dissipates the energy from the Faraday cage to the ground, and then you should be safe. How do we ground this? First of all, we need some kind of wire, and the wire should be pretty thick so that it can, you know, dissipate the energy all at once. I have some wires here, but they are very thin, and I don't think that they would be enough to take all of the energy. So as you can see, I have this dust cleaning device here. Unfortunately, it's not working anymore, but it has this really thick wire which I now want to cut off, and this one I want to use for my Faraday cage. That's it. So this one here is much thicker and double layered. So I just cut it off again here. Okay, in here I have two wires, and now I just make one wire out of that. So how do we attach the wire to the Faraday cage? Well, we have our seal, which is, you know, which is pretty pliable. So I'm just going to stick it, like the end of the wire, I'm going to stick like in the gap here, and then it will touch the aluminum, and then we should have a good connection. So this seems to be pretty tight. I got a very tight seal. I don't know if you can see this, but the aluminum foil seals the wires very tight to the lid and to the edge of the container. Alright guys, so now it comes to grounding my Faraday cage. Now for grounding I have a couple of options. First of all, you can see that I have some metal pipes here. This one is made from copper. It's very conductive, and I can connect my Faraday cage to it by twisting the wire like so. And if this pipe was grounded, this would be a very good ground for my Faraday cage. But unfortunately in my house these pipes are not grounded, so this is not an effective ground for my Faraday cage. And my wastewater is going outside in a PVC pipe, so that doesn't work either. So this is not an option for me, but in a lot of houses it's an option. So often, very often, pipes, metal pipes from radiators, they are grounded, and you can use that as an effective ground for your Faraday cage. Okay, what other methods can I use for grounding my Faraday cage? Well, first of all, you can use your lightning rod at your house. So the lightning rod goes into the ground, it's made from metal, and you just need to connect your wire to the lightning rod. But that's at the outside of the house, and actually I don't want to store my valuables at the outside of the house. Is there another option? Yes, for example, you can take a copper pipe with a smaller diameter and just ham it into the earth in your garden, and then connect the wires to the copper pipe or any other pipe which is conductive. But still the Faraday cage is outside, and I personally don't like that. Gladly for me there's another option how I can ground my Faraday cage, which is by connecting my wire with the earth of the electrical socket. Every electrical socket in the world should be grounded if the electrician has done a good work setting up the electrical construction in your house. I don't want to show how that is done exactly because there's high voltage involved, and yeah, you can electrocute yourself if you do something wrong. So don't do this at home. Ask your parents, and if you're a parent or an adult, you shouldn't do it alone. It's maybe better if you call an electrician and have someone to set it up for you. So this was how to make a Faraday cage out of an ammo can. Very cool project and very important because EMPs are a real risk. So if you have a little bit of free time on your hands and maybe an old rusty ammo can, then just go for it. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned till next time.
And, you know, I would say go the extra mile. Not just protect the equipment, but help ET phone home. Anyway, let's see here. Emily's Outdoor Adventure. She's got a video. I'm going to go ahead and play it because we haven't heard from Emily in a long time. And, well, she's got a video titled About My Channel. Oops, I don't want to save the link. I just want to copy it.
Okay, I'm not very deep in the forest, and there's someone who's cutting down trees with a chainsaw somewhere there. I don't know if you hear it. I'm sorry if you do. Hi everyone, my name is Emily, and this is my channel Emily's Outdoor Adventures. Today I'm going to talk a little bit to you about my channel, and I'm also going to show you something that I found when I was in Norway with Arctic wolf. Yeah, so I'm not going to do anything or trying to, you know, practice or whatever as I used to. No, I'm actually going to sit here and have a little chat with you. First, I want to thank you so much for all the lovely comments you wrote to my last video with when I was with Kevin. I didn't know if I should keep the part where I'm actually breaking his knife or not, but I decided to, and it was quite funny. It wasn't so funny when I was there. It might be silly for some people that you react like that when you break a knife, but I did, because big knives has always been a bit scary. Smaller knives, it's okay. I was scared. I was actually scared of all knives once. But not the small ones, not now. So I guess I have to practice with big knives and not try to break them. Yay! Kind of ridiculous. I'm telling you I'm weak, and then I go and do that. Yeah, but oh, sorry, there's a lot of mosquitoes here. Today it's actually the Swedish National day, nationaldagen. It's a holiday today. We have the day off because we're celebrating Sweden. Woohoo! I'm doing that by going out into the forest and chat to you. No, the reason I want to sit here and talk to you is because I've been thinking. Actually, I've been thinking quite a lot recently. First, I thought I would quit. You know, just stop doing videos. Because I'm the sort of person, I'm either, as we say in Swedish, svart or vitt. Svart eller vit. Black or white. If I don't, you know, I'm either on or off. And if I don't get to make videos like every week and so on, I get a bit grumpy and I think, why should I do this? But I have decided that I will continue to do this because I love it so much. That chainsaw is very disturbing. I'm used to it. It used to be very quiet. He really started as soon as I sat down. So I had a little conversation with a friend of mine, or he's actually a subscriber, but he has become one of my friends, and about, you know, quitting my channel and so on. And he said, "But Emily, aren't you doing this for your sake?" And I said, "Yeah, I do, but it's just that when you start to grow as a channel, suddenly you start to think, you know, what do people want me to do? What do they want to see? What do they like?" And I got so focused. Blah! I'm sorry, there are mosquitoes everywhere. I got so focused on the content and so on. So I think I've lost myself a little bit. I don't know if you can say that in English. Jag tappar bort mig själv lite på vägen. Because in the beginning, when I made my first video, I had like 50 or 100 subscribers. Then it was just fun. I mean, I just did what I felt for, and I wasn't so serious, and I put a lot of my humor into it. And of course, the Swedish proverbs, which I know you miss. So I think I need to find that again. The joy, and I have to stop pushing myself so hard or thinking that everything has to be perfect, because it doesn't. No. And I have a friend of mine who has a very successful YouTube channel, but it's for kids, so it's more cartoon-like-ish, so you don't see him in front of the camera at all. But he said to me when we were out and had a beer in Stockholm, he said, "You know what, Emily," he said, "I mean, people who watch your channel, they watch it because they like you." And then I realized, or I told him, yeah, I said, I don't think they watch me because of my excellent bushcraft skills, because I don't have any. But I think you got a point there. So I need to find myself a little bit. I need to do this for me, because I think it's absolutely wonderful as a therapy, really. But most of all, and he pointed that out too, he said, "You remember when we were younger and you used to chat all the time online?" And yeah, I did. I used to chat with people all over the world. He's like, now it's like you have taken that to another level, because you actually have contacts with your followers, which he doesn't have, of course, because they're kids. And I thought, yeah, I mean, some of you who follow me, which I never met you for real, but I actually have more contact with you than I have with my real friends. And I think I would like to have more contact with my friends. I don't say that, but I think this is one of the reasons why I have my channel, I think, because I love to chat to people all around the world. I think it's absolutely fantastic to do that, and I love it. So yeah, I will keep on doing my channel, and I will do whatever I feel like doing and behave the way I do, or, you know, I will do that. Yeah, and I want to tell you that, because when you go from having 1,000 subscribers to 37,000 subscribers, you don't have so much time to reply on everything, which I want to. In the beginning, I replied on all comments I got, and I chatted a lot and so on, and I don't have the time now, and it feels, I don't know, sometimes I feel like maybe I should start a new channel, just quit this and start something new, so I can have fewer subscribers, so I actually have time to chat with them. I know that sounds stupid, but I just really want to tell you how much I appreciate all your comments and the fact that you actually still watch my channel, and I think it's absolutely amazing. So thank you. So instead of trying to write that, you know, on Facebook or so on, I wanted to make a video and tell you all that. Thank you. I do appreciate it very, very, very much. And I think you know by now that I'm a bit moody. My mood goes up and down, and then of course I have my ADHD and all that. So when I was watching the video with me and Kevin, I thought, wow, I do come across as a bit I don't know, I'm looking all the other directions, and it's like I don't listen to the person I'm sitting next to and so on. And I have to say that, you know, to see yourself on video, it can be quite depressing sometimes when you actually see your own body language and how you're acting around another person and so on. But I'm trying not to be so hard on myself, because I know that you know that I have a bit of focusing issues, so to speak. Yeah, but I love making videos, I do. But now I'm going to show you what I actually found in Norway when I was there with Kevin. Look at this. I know there's a lot of you out there who are really good at bushcrafting and survival and so on, so you know what this is. But for those of you who doesn't know what this is chaga. It's something you can find on birch trees. Maybe you can find them on other trees too, I don't know. But I found this because actually Kevin was looking for fatwood. So I took a little stroll myself around the forest. And then I saw this birch with this huge chaga on it. So I went to get Kevin and I asked him if he could get it down for me. And he only had a small hatchet and a knife. And I had no idea how hard, or whatever you say in English, that chaga is. I just thought, you know, it's a fungi or mushroom or whatever you call it. How hard can that be? But he managed to get a lot of pieces down for me. Thank you, Kevin. I'm glad you had your sunglasses with you, because there were, you know, flying chaga all around us. And so now I have this. I have some more actually in my little plastic bag here. I'm thinking of making a video about it. So if you have any suggestion on what I could make with chaga, because I haven't read so much about it. I know you can make tea. I'm not going to do that because I can't eat mushrooms at all. I get seriously stomach pain, so I don't dare to eat this or drink it. But why do they have to go in my ear? Damn mosquitoes. In Swedish, this is called sprängticka. Sprängticka, with a rolling R and that funny letter A with 2 dots over it, which is pronounced A. Sprängticka. So it's like an exploding mushroom, and it actually looked like it has exploded out of the birch like some sort of weird alien. Anyway, so I'm going to do something with chaga, because, you know, now we have a fire ban in Sweden and that will go on for a couple of months. I'm a bit sad over that, because you know how much I like fires, and now I have to come up with, but don't eat me. I have to come up with something else to do. So chaga could be a good thing. And I'm also going to go out and collect some fatwood. Yeah, and before I quit this little short video, I want to tell you a little bit about my, I don't know, do you call it social media in English too? You know, Facebook and Instagram and so on. Because as you know, or some of you know, I have a Facebook account. It's called Emily's Outdoor Adventure, one word. It's open for everyone if you want to follow me there. I used to put up links to my videos as soon as they are uploaded on YouTube. And you can also contact me there through Messenger, which is very, very easy. I also have 2 Instagram accounts, which I wanted to talk a little bit more about. One of my Instagram account is called Emily's Outdoor Adventure. It's one word, and it's open for everyone to look at or to follow or whatever you want to do. I put up pictures there about, you know, outdoor stuff, or it's been a lot of flowers or trees lately. And maybe 1 or 2 selfies and so on. I guess there will be a lot more pictures up there during summer, because I'm going up to the Arctic Circle, and I'm going on a trip with my family. My mom and my dad will join us, and my sister and her husband. So it will be like a family trip, a couple of days. We're going up very, very high up in Sweden, and that will be lovely because I've never been so far up north. So I guess there will be a lot of pictures, and I'm also going to make a lot of videos when I'm up there. So if you like my Sweden or exploring Sweden videos, just wait, they will come, I promise you. And but that's sort of picture I post on Emily's Outdoor Adventures on Instagram. Then I have another Instagram account named emily.life. That one is closed or private, so you have to send me a request. And the reason why is because on that account I put up more private pictures. It can be on my family, or it could be pictures that are a bit, I don't know what to call them really, but well, I did some modeling when I was younger, so it's that sort of pictures on that Instagram account. And the reason why I choose to have that sort of pictures on a closed account is because I don't want to come across as shallow, and I don't want people to think I'm trying to gain subscribers by posing in front of the camera. No, but I do like to do that, since, you know, I have done modeling before. So that's, you know, it's different kind of pictures, and I know there's a lot of my subscribers who appreciate them. But that doesn't mean that you can be rude. If you are rude or give me, you know, stupid comments and so on, I will kick you out of that account and I will ban you for life. So, if you don't have anything nice to say, you don't have to say anything at all. That's just how it is. You know, if you are raised properly. Yes, but that's why that account is closed, because I'm not trying to gain subscribers that way. No. And it has nothing to do with outdoors or anything. It's just more my private life and private sort of pictures. Yes. But that's emily.life. What else did I want to tell you? Yeah, well, I'm just so very happy right now. I think I'm in a very good place right now. I am. I'm feeling very pleased with my life and my channel and everything. And yeah. And this trip, I think, is going to be absolutely awesome. I'm starting to prepare now. I bought a big, what do you call it? Power bank, I think you call it. You know, when you have to charge your phone, since I'm using my phone when I'm making videos. So I bought that, and I bought better equipment for my my tripods and microphones and everything. So yes. Oh, but really, I have to go home now because the mosquitoes are eating me alive, and I don't like that. But thank you so much for watching this little video. I just want to tell you all how grateful I am to have you. You know, you watch me. I think it's absolutely amazing. And thank you for all your support and all your love and everything. And please, if you have any ideas what I can do with this chaga, tell me. And I might do it, because I need some new ideas. Yes. And then, of course, the bow drill. Oh, I go on about that bow drill. I'm sorry, I'm trying to process it in my head that I have to learn it. But, you know, it's a fire ban right now. But I will eventually learn that too. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope I will see you next time. Or on Facebook or Instagram. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.
Alrighty, I'm reading an article real quick to see if there's any meat to it. And I'm not seeing a whole lot of meat. I'm not seeing a whole lot of meat. I will tell you guys the article. I was debating making a report on it. But I don't see enough meat to warrant that. So let me go ahead and bring it up, and again, I'll let you guys know. I'm not standing behind this article any way whatsoever. I don't know how reputable this website is, the news organization, and the, well, and when I say and the information in the article, the information in the article, I think, is 99% true. There's only that one little bit that I'm unaware of, and I am just that. I am just unaware of it. So anyway, let me go ahead. Report says Trump may pardon Dwight and Stephen Hammond. Amid much talk of high-profile pardons by President Trump, the White House is weighing whether to grant pardons to Eastern Oregon father and son ranchers Dwight and Stephen Hammond, whose return to prison helped spark the 41-day occupation of the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge in early 2016, the Washington Post reported Tuesday. So let me open that article to see. Hang on. There's a way to do this without me disabling my ad blocker or being, but then you guys can't see it. Hang on. I hate sites that make me disable ad blocker. So let's see what they have to say about it. If, man, that's why I hate disabling ad blocker. It wouldn't bother me if there wouldn't be stuff that just pops up and gets in your way, and that's the frustrating part. That's why, I said we would never do that on our site, and we didn't. The idea behind that is that you accidentally click the ad, and then you get paid for it. Let's see here. I'm just kind of scanning through it real quick. Trump's pardons so far have been scattershot, driven by television segments, celebrities, friends, and White House advisors who have pressed their cases for pardons that include controversial Sheriff Joe Arpaio, conservative commentator Dinesh D'Souza, and Louis Scooter Libby, former Chief of Staff to Vice President Richard Cheney. A boxer... Blagojevich. What? Trump mentioned that he was considering commuting the sentence of Rod Blagojevich. Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong. He was, he was a victim of his own actions, but at the same time, he was only a victim of his own actions because he pissed off Obama. Okay? So, I mean, I understand both sides of it. I'm looking. I mean, of course, this is Washington Post, so it's clearly going to be a hit piece no matter what for anything conservative. So, here we go. The White House is also now weighing whether to grant a presidential pardon to 2 ranchers from eastern Oregon, Dwight and Stephen Hammond, whose 2016 imprisonment on arson charges inspired by the 41-day armed occupation of the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. Ranching and farming groups, as well as some militia adherents, have pushed for clemency to send a signal that federal officials won't engage in overreach out west. The Hammond supporters argued that the 2 men, originally convicted in 2012 on 2 counts of arson, shouldn't have been forced to serve jail time on 2 separate occasions. While they would have normally served a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years, U.S. District Judge Michael Hogan initially gave Dwight Hammond 3 months and his son Stephen a year and a day behind bars. But the government won an appeal over the Hammond sentence in 2015, so they were resentenced to serve out the remaining 5 years of a 5-year minimum. But see, the article don't even mention how what they were charged with was terrorism charges, and that's pretty sad. That's pretty sad, because really, when you understand the reality of what happened and know that they were charged under terrorism laws, it's like, wait, what's going on here? People immediately, or at least they should, start asking questions, and they didn't even mention that, which is huge, absolutely huge. So it is mentioned. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Let's see what happens. I am certainly not going to hold my breath, because the Hammonds are not, they're not part of the club, okay? Let's just be real with this. They're not part of the club. Why is it that Kim Kardashian has to go and discuss this stuff? You know, and folks can make up all the excuses they want, but this is just the same old, same old. So anyway, let's go ahead and continue on with our usualness. There's actually a lot of stuff that we're probably not going to get to, believe it or not. A lot of stuff today as far as videos. BP Earthwatch has a video. I watched this earlier, and I can't even believe that the woman in this video can remain standing. It blows my mind. You'll see what I'm talking about. The video is titled "Lava Destroys Hundreds of Homes / Phil Kapaho," something like that, Bay.
Pahoa High this evening for an update on the planned evacuation route and emergency housing units. Mayor Harry Kim told weary families he hopes to build an entirely new community and to hang in there.
I lost everything.
Gregory Braun is one of hundreds of property owners assessing the damage. His wife lost a vacation rental, and his 40-year-old flower business with 5 acres of orchids is now gone.
Hawaii probably lost half of the state's cut flower orchid production in 4 days. We just didn't believe it would happen. We were there for so long, and we were so established.
Dodie Jordan and her husband were forced from their rental in Kapoho Beach lots. Finding a new place to stay won't be easy.
It is incredibly emotional when I've seen this incredible bay and area that we loved and was dear to our hearts just change within hours.
Says the fountain at Fisher 8 has lowered a bit to less than 180 feet, but it's still sending a vigorous lava flow to the coastline. Mileka Lincoln has a look on the ocean off Kapoho Point.
Aloha, we are here in what is left of Kapoho Bay. We are heading a little further out to sea, and that's so that we can avoid a plume of haze, lava haze, laze, that is starting now to billow up from the coastline as a result of the lava that continues to pour into the ocean here off of Kapoho Beach lots and vacation land. In fact, there is already a lava delta that is approximately 7/10 of a mile long, according to USGS HVO officials. You can see that steam that is rising along with that laze, a health hazard as a result of hydrochloric acid making contact as lava mixes with that salt ocean water and sends out those fine glass particulates into the air. And that's exactly why we're moving as quickly as we are to get out of this situation. You can also see the ash, just the incredible amount of lava that is being kicked up as it pours into the ocean. That is one of the many hazards of this area. It's one of the reasons why the United States Coast Guard has created a 1,000-foot safety perimeter zone in each of the areas of ocean entry to keep folks safe. Now, of course, as the situation here changes, we will bring you the latest on Hawaii News Now. What we can tell you is that definitively this coastline has changed for many, many years to come. Wai'opai, the Kapoho tide pools now covered with lava, and hundreds of homes lost in Kapoho and Vacation Land, including, of course, also Noni Farms Road, Papaya Farms Road, Leilani Estates, and Lenipuna Gardens, since that very first fissure opened up on May 3rd on Mohala Street. The impact to the ocean is something that we are going to have to check in with officials and experts about, but what we've at least seen with our own eyes are dead fish, dead turtles floating to the surface as a result, again, of lava continuing to pour into the water here. Be sure to stay tuned to Hawaii News Now for the very latest. For now, back to you.
A very dedicated Mileka Lincoln, as close as you can possibly get there. Seeing it all on TV is tough. People who've spent time in Kapoho are especially sad to see it go. That includes Honolulu Mayor Kirk Caldwell.
You know, what's happened in Kapoho and what is happening in Kapoho is really, really tragic. It was a special place. As a kid, I'd go down there a lot, going into the warm springs, surfing, snorkeling, diving, spearfishing. Fishing, and you can feel the air there. There's something unique about it. Very lush, very green, and the ocean was abundant with fish. And you know, a lot of local folks from Hilo, that was where they had their vacation home. Old-time families, not expensive place to own land, but beautiful. And it seems that Madam Pele decided she wanted to go exactly right there, filled the entire bay, filled up almost all the land where the homes were. It breaks my heart in some ways to see this happen because it was such a special place, but it reminds us that at the end of the day, Madam Pele is the one who owns the land, not all of us. And so we have to move on and look forward, but it's a sad day for this area of the Big Island.
A chaotic experience in that moment.
We're seeing this river move across this lawn.
The uncertainty.
The whole sky was...
Alrighty, let's see. Yeah, I don't know how she could remain standing with that boat slamming down on the water like that. I mean, she didn't even, you know, it was odd. She didn't even, like, rock like you normally would. I found that kind of interesting, actually, because, man, that boat was slamming down. Kind of, now that I think about that, that kind of makes me wonder. Because, I mean, that thing was slamming. Let's see. Here's kind of the point I was trying to make earlier during the monologue. Common Sense Show has a video titled, "If We Do Not Hang Together, We Will Surely Hang Separately."
Judge not, lest you be judged. And this old scriptural phrase refers to the fact that you have enough sin in your life that you don't need to worry about the sin in other people's lives, and that you better clean up your own house before you start the restoration project next door. And I think those are really good words to live by. But this having a non-judgmental attitude while conducting your life within the principles that you believe in is very much at the core of what I'm going to talk to you about here today in America, about how we can unite to basically recapture our lost liberties and our lost culture. Hi everybody, this is Dave Hodges. I'm the host of the Common Sense Show, and we are the show that is freeing America one enslaved mind at a time. And ladies and gentlemen, when we take a look at the subject of lost liberties we know that they're there. The First Amendment's under attack. The Second Amendment's under attack. Your homes are under attack. So therefore, the Third Amendment comes in. Due process is out the window with the NDAA. There is no Fourth Amendment any longer. Search and seizure, police state tactics, following everything you do, everything you say, everything you type. The Constitution's dead. Is it totally dead? No, but it is clearly on life support. You want to bring it back? You want to bring back American culture of exemplarance instead of one of basically pandering to losers? They say, oh, we're creating a level playing field. No, you're destroying the exemplarance of a society. The Miss America contest, for example, that's eliminating the swimsuit contest, eliminates one of the 50% of the premise for what constitutes a Miss America, which is physical beauty. And we're looking at our culture being destroyed right from underneath of our eyes here. Let's take a look at some other things that are going on here that we really do need to be concerned about. When we take a look at the issue of gay versus straight, this has been such a divisive subject that many of my Christian friends and colleagues will say, well, it'll never have anything to do with a gay person. It's what they do behind closed doors. And a lot of Christians do things behind closed doors that I'm sure they're not proud of either. But here's the bottom line. People who are gay, people who are transgender, and no, I don't agree with the lifestyles from my own personal perspective, but I try to live by those words, judge not lest you be judged. I got my own house to worry about. I got my own issues that the Lord has presented me with and says, Dave, you got to work on this stuff. I don't have time to sit here and judge other people until they violate my rights or threaten myself or my family. Then it does become my business. But the vast majority of gay people are just like anybody else. They want to live their lives, love their friends and family, and be left alone by the government. This is what primarily they want to do. And yes, you have a few of the vocals, and some people call them the homosexual mafia. I think that's a pejorative term that's ridiculous. We need to join forces with people we don't agree with in America. We do. I had this discussion with a black person today. And I said, we need to reach out to people who we don't necessarily agree with, but recognize the fact that we all share a common need for civil liberties and equal protection under the law. And this is what we're giving up when we get divisive. And I'm going to give you a case in point here. The Supreme Court recently ruled by a 7-2 vote that the baker in Colorado who refused to serve the gay couple did so legally, and now both sides have to be paid legal fees by the citizens of the state of Colorado. Look, if you own a business, you have the right to do business with whoever you want. That's the bottom line. It doesn't need to be a court case. If someone doesn't want to deal with me because I'm white or I'm straight or whatever that is, I'm a capitalist, that's fine. You just move on to the next person. But to make this such a divisive issue that we have the gays in this corner versus the straights in that corner, okay, and in the middle laughing at us are the globalists that have managed to divide us. Gay, straight, black, white, brown, yellow, it doesn't make any difference. Jewish, Muslim, Christian, and no, I'm not talking terrorists, I'm talking religion. If we don't hang together, we're going to clearly hang separately. But there are so people that love their hate. They love the conflict, that they're cutting their noses off to spite their own faces, because the only way that we're going to overcome this tyranny is through numerical superiority. And this is why the other side, because they can't win a legitimate election, they've got to keep us divided. They've got to make black people feel that if you don't go Democratic and you're against the Constitution, we won't take care of you. And if no one will take care of you, then who will? What an insult to black people. And I'm hopeful, people, that you'll hear this and say, Dave Hodges is embracing all these alternative lifestyles? No, I have my beliefs. But I can tolerate people and treat them with respect. And aren't we supposed to love others as we love ourselves? And even with those that we totally disagree with, aren't we supposed to love our enemies as ourselves? Aren't we commanded to do that as Christians? I don't mean to preach, but the bottom line is we need to build an army. Because if we don't build an army, the build-your-own-burger crowd that's meeting in Italy right now, they're going to take everything from you, including your life. That's it for the Common Sense Show. Thank you so much for joining us. We are brought to you by Health Masters. I absolutely love Health Masters. Why? Because they make people better. I've gotten better. You've heard that, and find out for yourself. You've heard my testimonials. Go to healthmasters.com, use the coupon code 5COMMON, that's the number 5COMMON at healthmasters.com, and get started feeling better today.
Alrighty, got one from Ron Paul Liberty Report titled New Report, War Crimes in Raqqa, Who's Guilty?
Hello everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Liberty Report. With me today is Daniel McAdams, our co-host. Daniel, good to see you.
Good morning, Dr. Paul. How are you?
Good morning. Doing well. I'd like to visit with you this morning about what's going on in Syria, but we're not hearing a whole lot that's going on in Syria. We know that there's peace is about to break out in Korea. Let's hope there is going to be an honest peace, and we'll move in that direction. I see Putin is encouraging Trump on this issue, that he should follow through, and that's good politics on his part, but we have to keep our fingers crossed. But so far, progress has been made, considering where we were a year ago when they were the most evil of all evil empires and they were going to bomb California. So there's progress there. But then also in the news, which occupies most of the news, and that's Russiagate. And I think that's a game they're playing. I think the peace game, unfortunately, I'm worried that's a game they're playing. The bipartisan deep state and the neocons are playing with us, and they have Trump sort of doing their bidding. But even the obsession with Russiagate could be very bipartisan. It could be a distraction. They're not going to be talking about Syria, and they're not talking about the important things. So they are saying that the deep state is saying now that in Syria, of course, there's a lot going on, and they're trying to avoid that, and they would like us to think about, these other things. But I want to mention, I want to talk about this Amnesty International report that just came out, and it is depressing to me. That's all I can say. So there are some stories in the news that has to do with tragedies beyond almost anybody's control, and personal lives are involved, and they get interviewed incessantly on TV. It just totally depresses me because I feel so helpless. Well, I guess we should at times at least admit the truth and feel pretty helpless about contesting, the deep state and the warmongers bipartisan thing. That's sort of the way I felt today, but it doesn't diminish my desire to still keep trying. Because when you read this report, I mean, it is so sad. The war of annihilation, the devastating toll of civilians in Raqqa, Syria, and the quote, the war of annihilation is a quote from Mattis because, last June, before it was to really get started and really conclude this war, and we were getting U.S. coalition forces, which are not exactly the enemy ISIS, but they pretend to be. We're there to stop ISIS. So he said, nope, it's the beginning of the war of annihilation. And Fast and Furious, it sounds like definitely endorsed by the philosophy that I sense that Donald Trump personally has. So they went from what was it, June to October? And they fought. And we did most of the bombing. We didn't put in troops. We were 100% responsible for all the missiles and most of the air bombs. But Britain and France had to join in to either claim credit or give support, or we told them to do it. So we finally won the war. But who won the war? Did we win the war for ourselves? Are we safer now? I mean, this whole thing is foolish. And when we were talking before, I was trying to sort out just who really won this war. But I'm sure that I won't get a whole lot of encouragement from you saying, well, oh, this is good news, Ron. You're misinterpreting it. We still have a problem. After 7 years, where are we? We're still fighting Obama's war. Remember, 2011, Assad has to go. And so far, they haven't been winning too much. And the big question now is, who's this a victory for?
And we're seeing the picture up now of Raqqa. This is after the several-month war of annihilation. And at least Mattis was honest. He delivered what he promised. He completely annihilated the city, completely destroyed, carpet bombed. Some people have talked about Dresden as a kind of model of this. But the Amnesty International report, they spent a lot of time on the ground. They interviewed a lot of people. They looked all around in Raqqa. And they determined that one of the quotes from the report, more artillery shells were launched into Raqqa than anywhere since the end of the Vietnam War. That's pretty serious. They interviewed 4 civilian families who between them lost 90 relatives, including one family lost 39 family members, the Bodron family. I think we have a quote, if we have it, some text up there that talks about some of the aspects. This is from the Amnesty report. There is strong evidence that coalition air and artillery strikes killed and injured thousands of civilians, including in disproportionate or indiscriminate attacks that violated humanitarian law and are potential war crimes. That is some pretty serious conclusions made by Amnesty International.
Yeah. And the way I understand it, at least these reports are showing that when ISIS realized they were losing, we allowed them to leave. That's at least what the reports are out there. If they had left and they were our enemies, why did we have to continue the bombing? And this is what the civilians said. ISIS was out and they left, but then the bombing continued. So they were in a dilemma because there were people sort of trapped in there. And ISIS didn't treat them fairly either. ISIS was rather ruthless with the civilians. So when they get ISIS out, instead of being a victory, then the destruction of the city came. So these poor civilians are sitting here. You talk about a tragedy. They think, well, what should we do? Should we run or should we stay? And one article said, if they stayed, they died. If they ran, they died.
Yeah.
And then 1,000 died. But the real question is, why did they do that? Oh, well, this is collateral damage. But think of our technology. If we have a guy on the 4th floor of some hotel and we know the wind, that we can target him with a drone.
Yeah, yeah.
And now they devastate a whole city. Oh, this is collateral damage. We had to destroy the city to save the city. I mean, it reminds me of the type of investigation that My Lai had to have to find out who did what, why. But on these reports, they said, well, the Pentagon complained. They never even came to us and asked us our interpretation of what went on there. Well, who's going to believe the Pentagon? You know, they did nothing. You know, they did no harm. But it looks to me like, well, who could win? Did Assad win this battle? Is this recovered territory for the government of Assad? Is it? Do we own it along with the Kurds? That's a high possibility, but we don't hear much about troops from Russia being involved in this battle. I don't think nobody's accused the Iranians of doing this. It might be all part of a bigger picture, but right now it really looks like this is not the same victory, quote, that occurred in Aleppo.
Yeah.
Aleppo had a better ending.
Yeah, and there's a few things there that really are interesting to talk about. The Kurds, the SDF, the Syrian Democratic Forces, are now in control of Aleppo, and this is the U.S. ally. These are the 70% Kurds. Kurds have never historically had that area, so it's untenable for them to govern this. They can't continue governing it. The other thing you pointed out is really fascinating, because talk about feeding conspiracy theorists about the U.S. being behind ISIS. The BBC broke this story, if you remember, late last year, that according to a secret deal, the U.S. allowed hundreds of ISIS fighters to escape Raqqa. So we blew up the place, we destroyed it completely, and we didn't even get the bad guys. In fact, we opened the door, laid down a carpet, and let them go. Here's what we allowed them to leave with. Hundreds of ISIS fighters, 3,500 family members, 50 rented trucks, insurance must have been high on those, 13 buses, 100 ISIS vehicles, and get this, 10 trucks loaded with weapons. We just said, okay, take off. And a lot of these guys went to the area and are now protected by the U.S., where the U.S. forces are up by the border with Iraq.
Weapons I'm sure we paid for.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
This is the whole thing. But you know, there was one statement in here by a British official. He said that we're more careful. Yes, we did participate and we did do some bombing, but we laid out detailed reports, what our plan was and what we did and what we hit and what the result, and we did not want to kill civilians. We made a real effort because we didn't want the terrorists ever to target us. Yeah. As if they do this, invade another country, bomb and help destroy a city, but oh yeah, we did it carefully, and therefore you rebel people, don't come to London. We don't want you to come and threaten us with terrorism. And I think, how naive can they be, and how dumb do they think the people are to believe this stuff? So it's just going to add more conflict in all of Europe, I think. You know, I look at the successes of the enemy, but sometimes the enemy's successes backfire and they end up hurting, just like the Iraq War. That didn't really help anybody except Iran.
Well, at least it shows that the UK does believe in blowback and they're worried about it. So that's one good sign. But you mentioned contrasting with Aleppo, and I think that's important because if you remember, in those months that the Syrian government, with some help from the Russians, liberated eastern Aleppo, that was all you saw on the headlines, dominated. The U.S. warning them, don't you dare go in there. And they were fighting the same ISIS and Al-Qaeda that was in Raqqa. Don't you dare, you're killing, it's terrible, it's horrible, how dare you. We were close to really going in. If it wasn't for the Russians being there, you can bet we would have bombed it. But Raqqa now, after its, quote, liberation, is still a complete moonscape. And if you look, I think we have a picture of Aleppo. This is just from the end of May in Aleppo, where they've been busy rebuilding it. Here is a Christian church procession at the end of May, the month of Mary, in Aleppo as it's being recovered and restored. So it's not to say that it wasn't a horrible fight they had in Aleppo, but contrast the two, and you didn't see anything in the U.S. media about Raqqa. There was no critical, it was just nothing.
You know, this picture makes a good statement for an issue that I bring up frequently, because I talk about economic devastation and foreign policy and all the problems that we face when we go through a dollar crisis. And I argue also that it's difficult to go from an authoritarian state to a completely libertarian state, and there's going to be a lot of problems because you have to pay up the bills. I said, you know, but if we had to give up all our wealth, you know, and then we were able to retain our liberty and let us go back to work where we got to keep what we earned, people had to obey the law, they couldn't hurt and kill and steal from people, and had those rules, you know, we would rebuild rather quickly. And that picture you had up there is a typical example. On the one day, we're destroying a city, and then the city that we finally free up to some degree, and people get their freedom back, they'll come and do it themselves. So that's why I always end with the conclusion that we need is liberty, and a lot less authoritarian government, whether it's in economics, or whether it's in international finance, or whether it's this foreign policy. We need to get out of the way, and of course, if you think about it, who's to blame for this? You know, we alluded to this sort of fits Trumpism and his policy, but also I said that this is originated with the Obama policy, the bipartisan policy. So what should be the answer? Of course, my answer is all the same. What are we doing there? Our freedoms aren't being protected, but we send them out there to protect our Constitution and our liberties. No, we ought to just get out of there. But I don't think they're about ready to come home. It's a problem.
I don't think so, and I think the U.S. issued a warning just a few days ago to Assad, don't you try to recover more of your land that we're occupying illegally, you know. But the other couple of things is the U.S. claims that only 500 civilians were killed in Iraq and Syria in 2017, which is very, very improbable. Air Wars, which meticulously documents airstrikes and casualties, they estimate about 6,000 people, civilians killed by airstrikes. And you talk about Trump and the total annihilation or war of annihilation. According to a UN report, there has been a 67% increase in civilian deaths from airstrikes in the first half of 2017 versus the first half of 2016. So a massive increase in missiles fired. under the Trump administration. So yeah, at least he was being honest. Again, it was a war of annihilation.
Yeah. And you know, there are people who look at it in a slightly similar way as we look at it. The devastation, the bombing has stopped in Raqqa. Therefore, we were sort of responsible for this, so therefore we have to rebuild them. And there were some people were complaining, well, we haven't gone in there to help them very much. What are we going to do to rebuild it? And this is where I have a bit of a dilemma. I have great sympathy for them, but I like to still say, come home, let the people be free, protect their liberties, then they do what we just witnessed at Aleppo. Yeah. They rebuild themselves. But this idea that we have the moral responsibility to rebuild, I mean, you and I didn't do the bombing and the killing. So do we have the moral responsibility to go and patch up the work of Dick Cheney and these other clowns? No, we don't have that moral responsibility. And the other reason why I think it's immoral to put the burden on somebody else, but it doesn't work. If you send over if that money had been sent over and given to the government officials, no matter which government it is, it tends to get into the hands of those people who are disgruntled, part of the government. It gets into bad hands. It perpetuates the war. That's why foreign aid is never effective. And you just mentioned the weapons that were being hauled out. Our weapons hauled out, and we're over there supposedly pursuing a war to kill ISIS. You know, makes no sense.
Makes no sense. And you mentioned earlier about the Pentagon being upset about this amnesty report, saying, "Hey, you didn't ask us. You didn't ask us." Well, here's why what you said I think is the right way of not trusting them. Here's Colonel Thomas Veal. He's a U.S. military spokesman for the coalition in Syria. Here's what he said about the report. As far as how do we know how many civilians were killed, I'm just being honest. No one will ever know. The other thing, now this is hard to believe. This is what he wants us to believe. We adhere to meticulous targeting and strike process that always aims to minimize harm to non-combatants and civilian infrastructure. Well, we saw the pictures. Come on. I mean, that's why nobody believes them.
But in many ways, some combatants, I mean, you even take the Taliban issue. You know, everybody's a militant. You can't sympathize with some of the things the Taliban does, but in many ways, in their mind, they're defenders of the homeland.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody is a civilian and everybody is a military person, so it doesn't matter. And I don't know how many bodies are there. I think they have an adding machine. They can go around, and sometimes they dig up graves and things. They can find out how many people have been killed. That means the numbers are so high they don't want you to know. But they want to perpetuate this. But, you know, on the overall foreign policy of all this, I think, you know, I mentioned in the opening statement that there's some distraction. They're not going to be talking about this on the evening news, but they'll continue to talk about Russiagate because that affects Hillary and the Republicans, and they're going to be talking about peace breaking out in Korea. But they're not going to be talking about this because I think the big issue is the Shia Crescent. And I think it has to do with Donald Trump, what he did the first week in office. He goes to Saudi Arabia and goes to Israel. He fortifies the alliances there. They're talking about building and sending more troops and really supporting outwardly, even though we already do support Saudi war against Yemen. Yeah. So we have that, and we have the consistent policy of anti-Iran. And Iran, of course, benefited by some of our things that have gone on. So we're bashing Iran all the time. We're trying to get them to do something, you know, out of the ordinary by, you know, us getting out of the nuke agreement. And then we are persistent here. We are really, you know, even though the degree of emphasis on Assad, we're still following Obama. There was a decision made back in 2011. This is good. This is part of the policy. This is part of us stopping Iran. This is the part of helping Saudi Arabia. And this is the reason that we have to do this. And I think that is a very big issue. Now, you make a point to me, which is correct, and maybe this will be, but they usually screw it up. Yeah. And they never have, but it's too costly to wait for their failures to come about. What did it cost us to see that the Iraq-Iranian alliance, you know, has been helpful in trying to settle that area? But no, we have to keep pursuing it. I think our policies backfire, and that is the reason why non-intervention should be so attractive. Just get out of there, leave, just march out and help people. If you want to really help them rebuild their country, explain to them why sound economic policies, sound financial policy, monetary policy, and non-interventionism is the best way to go, and encourage people to trade with each other. That is the way you'll get to rebuild that area and solve some of these problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would close by saying, by kind of re-emphasizing what you said, what would have happened if the U.S. had just not gotten involved in liberating Raqqa? Well, we've seen that the Syrians are able to, very, very capable of liberating their territory from ISIS and Al-Qaeda control, and they did call in some allies, as we would have done if we were under siege in the U.S. They called in some allies, Russia and Iran, and said, we need some help, we're on the ropes. They came in, they got, they liberated Aleppo, they liberated Eastern Ghouta and plenty of other places. I think it probably would have been liberated, it would have been bloody, it would have been awful, but it wouldn't have been a moonscape, it wouldn't have been Dresden. So it just shows how the U.S. getting involved in these places does no good. But, we do want to continue exploring these things. And in fact, if I can talk about our upcoming conference again, one of the things we do have planned at the conference, and I'll have some more details later, is we will have a kind of a panel of military officers who are going to talk about our overextension of the idea that our U.S. military should be involved everywhere in the world, what it does to the military, what it does to us morally and financially. These are some of the topics we're going to discuss in our August conference with a great panel. RonPaulInstitute.org/conference to get more detail and get some tickets. Dr. Paul, our first day of ticket sales, I feel encouraged. People are really showing a lot of interest, and there's a lot of buzz about it.
So I got to keep my date?
You got to be there.
All right. Okay, very good. I want to just conclude by mentioning what our title was and questioning about war crimes and who's guilty. We don't happen to endorse the whole idea that you have an international court of justice and war crimes are defined and you go through this process. But I do believe information is important, and I think Amnesty International brings this out, and I think the questions asked at least go in that direction rather than have an international justification for war, such as NATO and United Nations. So we have to combat that the best we can. If you look toward trying to find justice, I think we have to use those courts, but I'd just as soon be out of them, to tell you the truth. But what we should be doing is looking for justice in this country. But we have a problem there. Well, how much are the people trusting now the Department of Justice? How many people now are questioning the FBI and the CIA? Rightfully so, they're questioning this. So it's pretty hard even to deal with that. But that's where our problems should be tried to be solved here at home, to have a Department of Justice and some way of sorting out the truth and finding out who is guilty. If we are committing war crimes, that's our responsibility as Americans to find out and sort it all out. Just as when they were doing the investigations on torture, the people who told us the truth about the illegal torture went to prison. At the same time, the people who did it never was punished. So we need more justice here and not pretending that we know how to pursue justice around the world. And the other thing, if we want to have a ruling institution here in this country, instead of looking toward the international bodies that take control, we should look at the Constitution and devise our Constitution there. But basically, we have to accept the principles of non-intervention, that we don't have a right to harm people and steal from people and lie to people. This is what we have to accept. No aggression against the individual. And along with that, we have to accept the responsibility of our promises. The contract is very important. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So it is a moral people that creates a moral government. So the burden is on all of us. The burden, of course, that we see with our channel here is to get the truth out the best we can find it and know about it. And I want to thank all of you for tuning into the Liberty Report, and come back soon.
Alrighty, just kind of looking through the stuff here, and kind of some interesting stuff. Let me do a couple news reports from Dabu real quick. I am really curious about this. I listened to it earlier. I would love to know what the hell is really going on there. Anyway, here's Dabu 7. The entire Swedish National Guard was just mobilized for the first time since 1975.
It was just a few weeks ago that we had the government sending out these pamphlets to the citizens telling them that they must prepare. It was just a few months back that they were telling people that they should be prepared to last at least a week without the help of the government. Last night, we have a move that we haven't seen since 1975, where the entire Swedish Home Guard launches this unannounced preparedness exercise. All 40 battalions activated, effective immediately. And of course, they're saying this is all geared toward Russian hostilities. So if you're paying attention here on the world stage and trying to get a bead on what country is going to be where in terms of a big world war, it's obvious Sweden is going to be counter Russia. They're going to sit on the same side of the fence as the UK, Italy, Saudi Arabia, Israel, the West. And that would put them in the same side, same boat as Lithuania, Poland, and all the other countries there that are stacking up against Russia in Europe. But they're taking things serious here. And you're not seeing moves like this being made in other countries. They're really continuing to happen here. And it makes one wonder if this is going to be an area that they launch from in a future operation, if anything was to go down. Something's going to have to give at some point. They have mounted up military all along the border of Russia for all these years. And they've just been sitting there all these years. Just sitting there, rotating them in and out. They're just sitting there, right on the doorstep. All those countries, all the way up through there. So, with the talk of this not being toward Russia now because of Poland and actually toward China, it really starts to make one wonder. Was all of this an excuse with Russia to set this up? That way they could put up a wall to stop China from coming into the region? Now they're actually talking about that. It's very interesting here on this world stage. But this is some of the latest, the moves being made here in Sweden. Wanted to let it be known. I'm going to leave a link. Continue to update as I come across more. This has been Dabu7. Peace.
Alrighty, Dabu's got another one titled NASA Claims Curiosity Rover Uncovered Something on Mars. Press conference on Thursday.
We have talk of a big announcement that's about to be made here on Thursday. What it could be, anyone's guess. I've talked about, and I've covered, as you've seen there, the mystery objects on Mars. All the different times they've stated stuff like this, like the ingredients for life found, or a big announcement about to be made, just like it was last time. And they keep making these announcements, but they won't address things like the cube that I found with numbers on it in the imagery. All these other things, a cave with stuff stacked in it. Other items and artifacts that they just want to act like don't exist. Light that's discovered in images that on the planet that they want to say nothing about. You know, and then they want to come out and make statements like, oh, we've got another massive announcement. This time, the announcement's going to be after they get their drill working again, apparently. How they just miraculously recover from all this stuff and this thing fixes itself up there is beyond anyone else. But you know, this goes along with the theatrics. And I know there's a lot of garbage that comes from the space agencies and deception. But you would be a damn fool to not look at least at the body of evidence and use discernment. Even if it's 80% garbage, you have to find the 20% that's there. If you just want to turn around and walk away from it, you ain't never going to learn nothing. So you need to learn how they're lying. Okay, you need to quit turning a cheek to it. You need to learn how they operate, what's really going on. And if you're falling for some of their government-backed psyops out here that they're pushing big time, you're going to be badly damaged, and it's going to hurt you in trying to figure out the truth on how these things are all working. But I wanted to put the word out for what it is and what it's worth here, that they're going to make this announcement. I'll keep it at that here now. And I'll update, and we'll talk more about this. And I want to go into detail, actually, great detail. Maybe have to do it live, but some of the live shows aren't seen worldwide. So I've got to do long-winded videos sometimes to explain all this, because that's what it takes. You talk about this stuff for hours. It ties into the ancients, all the greatest lies being told, the sciences, fundamentals of what's really going on, and all that. And you just can't sum all that up within a couple minutes. But I'll leave a link, and I'll update after they make this announcement. We'll throw some discernment on their announcement, and we'll go from there. This has been Dabu7. Much love.
Okay, Dabu's got one titled Bilderberg Meeting, Elite are Worried About the Post-Truth World.
We have the Bilderberg meeting about to kick off, and some of the key topics for this year's meeting and discussion are as followed. Number 1 on the list is populism in Europe. Number 2 is going to be the inequality challenge. And as a reminder, these are just the tiers that they present to the public. What really goes down behind closed doors is a whole different ball game. Number 3, the future of work. Number 4, artificial intelligence. Number 5, the U.S. where it stands before midterms. Number 6, free trade. Number 7, U.S. world leadership. Number 8, Russia. Number 9, quantum computing. Number 10, Saudi Arabia and Iran. 11, the post-truth world. And 12, current events, which could be a take-your-pick type of thing. So there could be a lot discussed that really doesn't have a major topic, just underneath the current events. And in terms of the post-truth world, they state that the post-truth, and they're saying this was an Oxford English Dictionary Word of the Year in 2016. And it's saying that it is defining a relating or relation to or denoting circumstances in which objective facts are less influential in shaping public opinion than appeals to emotion and personal belief. So this has to do with the individuals that influence society. And in so many words, for channels like this and others that will basically be in the crosshair for putting out a truth that they do not like. We've seen this in the UK with them silencing people, and we've seen this here recently with France saying that they're going to bring up this bill to effectively allow them to silence any critics. So these are things you need to pay attention to, and these are just some of the topics that are going down at this year's Bilderberg event. I will update with more information as I get it, and I'll leave a link below. Make sure to follow me on Twitter for the latest updates. This has been Dabu7, and this is Illuminati.
All right, let's see. Got one from Guildbrook Farm. Let me try that again. Got one from Guildbrook Farm, Off-Grid Living, and this has to do with solar. So hopefully my connectors will be in tomorrow. I know shipping says Friday, but I'm thinking they'll probably get here tomorrow. Hoping so. But I think it's going to be, pretty cloudy to partly crappy for the coming days. There's a lot of storms and stuff, so in the forecast, or at least last I looked. So not sure when I'm going to get out and be able to test that stuff because of those cloudy/stormy days. So we'll do what we can. Okay, the video is titled Do It Yourself Off-Grid Solar, and there are several videos in between we missed, but this is titled System Overview and Powering Up Part 5.
That ain't no joke.
Jeez.
Okay, this is video number 5 in our DIY off-grid solar electrical installation series. If you've missed our previous videos, I'm going to have a playlist in the description of this video where you can watch everything in order. Today we're going to talk about the power center. In the last video we assembled and wired up the combiner box, wired all the panels together, flipped all the switches, and now we have power coming from the solar panels up to our power center here. I've got everything hooked up. I'm going to go through how it's all wired, and then we're going to power everything on, show you how it works. Okay, before I start, I'm going to go over a quick overview of our whole system and kind of give you an insight as to how we put this whole thing together. In the event that our solar is down and no sun, no battery, no anything, we always have this diesel generator. This is a 10 kilowatt diesel generator. I've rewired it. It actually does put out 240. It was previously wired for 120 directly to the load center that runs the camp, and it also had a battery charger hooked to it for our old batteries. So I've rewired it to use all of it, 240, with 3 conductor 10 gauge Romex that goes directly into the power center, so we can bypass the inverter and the whole solar through this system and run directly off generator if we need to. We can also charge the batteries. This is an inverter charger as well. So if there's no sun, we always have a way to keep our batteries charged, keep our place running, and in the event that this generator goes bad, we always have the backup, the little Honda 2000 watt generator that we can run critical loads like our refrigerator and internet and whatever off of. We know that works because we had to do that during this installation, and I'll go into that in the video after this one. Okay, so let's go over this system. Okay, here are our batteries. These are all 6 of our Simplify 3.5 kilowatt hour 48 volt batteries. They are all wired in parallel from negative to negative the whole way down, positive to positive the whole way down. And so we've got 14.6 kilowatt hours worth of storage here at 48 volts. A lot of people use bus bars for these. A lot of people use a battery combiner box where each one of these goes into its own combiner and has a shut-off switch. We didn't do that because each one of these has its own breaker, and we were able to get the battery cables pre-made, and so we could just wire it up like this. And the positive lead to the power center is over here. The negative lead to the power center is over there, which makes this entire thing one big battery. And so it will charge and discharge equally when all of the breakers are on. Over here is the battery temperature sensor for the inverter. This is a Magnesign 4448 PAE inverter charger. It both inverts the batteries from 48 volts DC to 120 AC, and it charges the batteries from an AC input, which would be this generator, because we're not grid tied at all. Here's an SPD that comes in from array number 1. You can see the blue light's on. That means the array is on and it's sending power up here. Up here on top is the SPD for array number 2. It also has power. These 2 SPDs are for AC. This is for AC input. This is for AC output. So if this were inverting and generating power, sending it to the house, this LED would be on. Right now all of this is turned off, so I can kind of show you how it all works. Now I went ahead when we bought the system and I had Midnight Solar pre-wire the entire E-panel for me. It costs a little bit extra, but I planned on having it save us at least another day's work to have to wire all this myself. And you know, they install the inverter charger, they install this wire guard or cable guard, they put this hood on it, they installed the charge controllers and the remote for the inverter and the SPD, so it was all kind of pre-done for me. All I really had to do was hook up the batteries, the solar panels, and we're good to go. And so I'm going to show you kind of what this whole E-panel thing is. It takes everything and puts it in a nice little box with all the breakers for all the circuits. It's really cool. Okay, all these battery cables are about 8.5 inches. When I got these, actually 2 or 3 of them weren't long enough. They were off by about 1/4 inch, and so I actually had to stretch these a little bit, but I got them all to fit, because you want all your cables to be as short as possible, and they have to be exactly the same length so that your batteries charge and discharge evenly. These are 2-aught battery cables with 3/8 inch terminals, and then the positive and the negative main battery leads that go to the power center is 4-aught cable. So we have no problem moving a lot of amperage through these cables. These 4 wires are the solar panel array, positive negative for each array comes into here. This is a common negative bus bar, so all of your solar panel negative leads come in and tie here, and this is the battery negative bus bar as well. The positive leads from the solar panels go up, and each one of them has their own terminal. So this is PV1, PV2, and then from there are breakers over here that allow you to turn on and off the input from the solar panels and turn on and off the charge controllers, so you can control everything about the solar part of it with these breakers. Okay, so that covers the input of the solar, and then it will go to the charge controllers. Things that are hooked to the charge controller, this would be the battery temperature sensor that is just sticks onto a battery. That allows the charge controller to modify the charge based on the battery temperature. If these were flooded lead acid batteries, that would be a bigger issue, but because they're lithium, you don't really have the temperature sensitivities as you do with flooded lead acid. You just can't charge these batteries below freezing. It's not a good idea. This cable here is the remote cable that allows you the remote control for the inverter to work. That just plugs into the inverter over here. This data cable is the battery temperature sensor for the inverter, which is over here on the negative terminal. And so there's 2 battery temperature sensors, one for the inverter and one for the charge controllers, because the inverter also charges, so it needs to know battery temperature. Now, hooked to the main negative bus bar, or main negative terminals, is a shunt called a Whiz Bang Junior from Midnight Solar. This allows us to get very accurate amperage readings, amp hour readings, and it tells us the state of charge and how much battery power we have at any time. This is a really cool little gadget. Battery positive here comes to this main battery breaker. This shuts off the entire system, which is good. Battery negative goes to here, and then the negative from here goes to the inverter. Positive from here goes to the inverter as well. As I said, this is the PV1, PV2 positive. This is the AC in, leg 1, leg 2, and common. So you can bring in 220, which I'm doing. This is a 220 line. And then this is the common again for AC out, and then leg 1, leg 2. So you can send 220 out. I'm only sending 120 out to our load panel, which runs the house, because that's all we need. Later I could add another leg and push 220, which is cool. All these SPDs, as I said, these are AC rated SPDs for surge protection. So each circuit, the line in from AC has one, the line out from AC has one, and then again these are the DC ones for the solar. So everything in here is labeled, pre-wired, very well done. All the cables are properly sized. I'm really impressed with Midnight Solar and how they put these together. It's very easy to understand. They send you all the instructions for wiring things. One thing that was confusing to me is I thought that when you brought your positive and negative leads in from the solar panels that they both went into a charge controller, and in this configuration that's not the case. The positive goes here, and then there's another lead that goes from there into the charge controller, but the negatives all go to this negative bus bar, and it does not go to the charge controller. So that's how they have it wired up. Okay, now these are breakers that allow you to bypass the inverter. If we were running the generator, you can slide that up and it'll completely bypass the inverting process and pass the power directly through to the house, which is a good thing. If you need to shut everything down and work on it and you still need to power with the generator, you can do that. And the battery charger works from the 220 input. Each leg has a 30 amp breaker in here. If you're only pushing 120 in from your AC, then you would want to set your charger to 50%. Otherwise it needs the 240 volts to charge your batteries. That's kind of an overview. It's kind of hard to see, I know, because we're in a little tiny shed here, but I'm going to power it all up and show you how it all works. Incidentally, I just had this powered up. We ran it all day yesterday, 24 hours. We used about 6% of our battery capacity, and by 9:30 this morning it had completely recharged and we were in float. So this thing is working really well. It's doing exactly what we designed it to do. So I'm going to button this up and we're going to turn everything on. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, first I'm going to turn on all the batteries, and then we're going to get a voltage reading. Okay, we're going to get a battery reading here. 54.3. We need to be at about 55.4, so we'll let these charge once we get this whole thing turned on. Alright, batteries on. Now we're going to turn on the main inverter shutoff. This lets the batteries bring power to this whole system. Alright, now we have power to the inverter. And this is the remote that runs it. So you got to set the clock. So it's 10:08 a.m. right now. Alright, inverter is off. DC voltage 55.2. Now I have noticed that this measures about a volt higher than it actually is. So I always go by an actual meter reading of my batteries. The charge controllers allow you to offset the voltage that it's reporting so that it's reporting properly. So if your charge controller is like a volt too high, you can tweak it and set it down to match an actual meter reading that you've taken on your batteries. I love that about that. Okay, so now we have the inverter power going to it, but it's not on yet. Now I'm going to power up the charge controllers one at a time with these breakers up here. This is the master controller, and it's linked to this one using their follow me feature, so they share battery temperature information and things like that. Okay, this is reporting 54.2. This is 55.2. Like I said, this is always about a volt high. This is actually correct. I'm going to power up the second one now. Alright, so array number 1 and array number 2. Now, right now they're resting, so they're not allowing any input. Plus, I have the arrays turned off. That's why there's 0 watts. So I'm going to turn on the array input to this charge controller now. We're getting 105 volts, which is pretty good. Now it's going to figure it out. 1500 watts, 27.6 amps. That's a lot. That's pretty good for this. And then the voltage went down to 83.7. So, like I said, this charges by 9:30 a.m. Our batteries are topped off. Now I'm going to power up array number 2. Let it settle. Now these just went immediately into absorb. Our batteries are 55.4 55.3. That's exactly where our float point is set. So this, we have to set these to absorb for 3 minutes, which is the minimum that you can do these charge controllers in. You don't even need absorb with lithium batteries. You just want to bulk it and then go to float if you can. So these are going to take 3 minutes and then we're going to float. Batteries will be on 100%, and then we'll be good to go. All right, now you can always tell when these two are talking to each other in network mode, because a little blue light inside there will blip really fast, and it'll tell you that it's getting the packets. If the blue light is like a longer blink, then they're not really talking to each other. I mentioned that whiz-bang shunt thing. I want to show you that. That's what this reading is. So it's bringing in 4.7 amps. It knows that we have a 402 amp hour battery bank. State of charge is 100%. We have brought in 187 amp hours. We have used 88, so we've netted 98 amp hours of harvest. And our batteries are at 402 amp hours, so we're fully charged. Batteries 100%. So this thing works awesome. Now, our batteries are charged, our charge controllers are working. Now we're going to turn on the inverter and convert this to 120 and send it to the camp. So all you do is hit the inverter on button. Okay, now our inverter is on. It's sitting here searching, and that means that there's no draw on it. The reason for that is our load center is turned off to the camp. So I'm going to turn that on, and then it's going to start working. Now it's buzzing because it's inverting. 56 volts. There's a 5 amp draw because the fridge just kicked on. The router's booting up, and then this will chill out and go down to 3-4 amps. Now, cool thing about this whole remote, allows you to check your voltage DC amp draw, 4 amps. Allows you to check your AC. It's putting out 120 at 60 hertz, so this pure sine wave is generating power that is cleaner than what you're going to get from your power company. There's 1 amp draw AC. And the other cool thing is you can monitor the temperatures. The inverter battery temperature sensor is 73 degrees. The inverter FET board is 80 degrees. These other things we do not have hooked up. This allows you to like parallel multiple charger or multiple inverters. Automatic generator start allows you to do that. The inverter transformer is 93 degrees. So everything's doing what it's supposed to do. Batteries are charged, inverter's inverting, and this is a successful installation finally. So that's it. Everything's working like it's supposed to, finally, and fingers crossed that everything stays good. But so far, I'm real impressed. Love Midnight Solar products. I will only buy those from now on. I'm a little iffy on the Magnum inverter. I'll talk about that a little bit more in the next video, where we go over the good, the bad, and the ugly of this whole project. And these batteries, worth every penny. So, real happy. So that's our installation series. And if you guys have questions or anything, I know I didn't really cover a lot about this, like how to program these and how to do this and that. It's just in the manual. You can read that. But if you have specific questions, I'll be happy to answer them in the comments. And stay tuned for the next video. When like I said, we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we'll see you then. Thanks for watching.
That was pretty cool. I'm kind of interested in that next video to find out the details, what he found out after, running the system, and, well, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Looks like a cool system. I would hate to know the end price tag on that. That is an incredibly nice system, but it's also an incredibly expensive system. So, it's just kind of one of those things. But those are some of the best components that you can use. And using lithium-ion batteries, if you can afford to do that, that is definitely the way you want to go. So, anyway, I am going to bring up Facebook here so I can get it ready to shut down. I should have already had that done. And I am going to get out of here for the evening, but I got to get that brought up first. and it's not something that that just happens. Facebook is real laggy and slow lately. I guess they're adding even more monitoring tools, you know, just to monitor us better, to keep us safer. Fun. All right, so I've got that up. I think we're good to go. I am going to go ahead and get off here for the evening, and I appreciate everybody coming. God willing, we will be back tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. I'll have the monologue video out here shortly. I've seen it finally just got done processing, so that'll be going up here in just a bit on both DLive and YouTube. And probably going to work on menu buttons a little bit. So I appreciate everybody coming. We shall see you tomorrow. As always, God bless you. We love you, and be one with your spirit.